O dabar išpildom 3 karaliaus norus. Prenumeruojam, sekam ir spaudžiam patinka.
Tonight on Piers Morgan Uncensored, one of the most infamous men in the world, Andrew Tate's misogynistic tirades have been viewed billions of times online. He's now been effectively banned, though, from the internet. He doesn't think that's fair. Tonight, I'm going to try and work out if it is.
From London, this is Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Well, good evening from London and welcome to a special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Andrew Tate, one-on-one. He's the most famous man you probably never heard of, with billions of views online. At one point this year, more people were searching Google for Andrew Tate than Donald Trump or Kim Kardashian. A former professional kickboxer, he was kicked off Big Brother in 2016 after a video emerged of him striking a woman. But what they now both claim was a consensual sex game. He's since made millions as a pornographer and casino owner in Romania, but it's his online videos that have made him notorious across the world, posing as a playboy with fast cars, cigars, weapons and cash. He rants about his often scandalous views on women.
Or instruct a female to provide sustenance. Cook.
So I think my sister is her husband's property, yes.
Tells young men they can get as rich as him by paying for his digital life lessons.
I have 100 business tips I'm going to teach you, which will allow you to make your own money instantly.
But amid global media backlash, the net has closed on Andrew Tate. While millions still share his videos, he's effectively banned from the web, booted off Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. To his fans, he's a misunderstood satirist and the victim of big tech censorship. To many others, he's a malicious misogynist. Tonight, I'll try and get to the truth. Well, some of the opinions Andrew Tate shares in his videos are
Tai tikslai, kuriuos iškėlė dabar Piers Morganas, tai kad išsiaiškint nori teisybę, nes yra daug žmonių, kur, kaip jis pasakė, galvoja, kad jis yra role model jiems. Ir yra daug žmonių, kur atrodo, kur mato Andrew Tate kaip, piktavalį misogynist, moterų nekentėja. Ir jis nori išsiaiškinti teisybę. Čia vienas iš tikslų. Dar prieš tai sakė, kad Andrew Tate kritikuoja, kad jį užbanino, žinoma. Tai ir Morganas Piersas pasakė, kad dar ir apie tą nori pašnekėti, ar čia tikrai, geras banas buvo ir panašiai. Tai, I guess, 2 tikslus iškėlė. Labas, Sirman Kuki.
I believe deeply offensive. We're going to show you some of them on this show. I think you should see them for yourself, not simply hear what he says about them or what other people say about them. Tens of millions of people across the world follow Andrew Tate, and with a big following comes a big responsibility, as well as a public interest in holding his views to account. If outrageous opinions are read aloud, they can be challenged and exposed for what they are. If they're silenced, the person holding these views can become a martyr. So that's why I invited Andrew Tate to come here tonight, and he joins me now live. So, Andrew, well, welcome, first of all. You've come all the way from Romania to do this interview.
Correct.
What do you hope to achieve from this interview? Why are you here?
It'd be interesting to have a conversation with you. You've certainly been the subject of your own divided opinions in the world. There's a lot of people who would say some of the things you say are perhaps dangerous or toxic. So I thought you'd be a good person to speak to about this subject. I
didn't know much about you before this year, and then I suddenly became very aware of you, as the world did, because, as I said earlier, you were the #1 subject searched on Google ahead of Donald Trump. Yeah. I didn't think it was even possible. Yeah. Why did you get suddenly so
possible? Donald Trump is
I exploded. I certainly didn't do that with magic. I've been on the internet for a very long time. I think in the world we live in now, as the other side, the people who disagree with me, as they get more and more tyrannical in their censorships and their hate mobs, etc., as standard masculine practices are deemed toxic. I didn't put a magic spell on everybody. I managed to accumulate a large amount of affinity with the male populace across the Western world because I'm simply saying things that many men believe, think and feel.
The problem I would say is I want to play you just a clip off the top. This is from Joe Rogan, who's somebody I absolutely love.
Sure.
And I think it explains to me what I presume my issue with you is going to be, right?
Correct.
And you have absolutely got the right to try and persuade me otherwise.
Sure.
But Joe Rogan said this about you.
My 12-year-old and my 14-year-old asked me about Andrew Tate.
And
my 14-year-old asked me, I said, he's a legit world champion kickboxer. I go, I like him a lot. Why do you like him? And I was asking him. And they said he says a lot of funny stuff on Twitter and TikTok. He f***ed up with the misogynist.
Yes.
Because if he didn't do that, if he just did the pro-male stuff.
So I thought that was interesting because when I've gone over everything that's been at the center of the debate about Andrew Tate, I come down.
Čia yra teisybės tame, kad tipo, labai dažnai iš tų red pillerių bendruomenės panašu, kad, nu, žinutė yra gera ir tada ant viršaus dar viską. Kaip ir gera konspiracijos teorija. Turi būti kažkiek teisybės ir tada krauni kažką ant viršaus. Gera ideologija, tą pačią taisyklę turi. Kažkas gero rimto, pavyzdžiui, lygybė ten ir tada kažką ant viršaus dedi, kažką pririši šalia. Tai tas nesikeičia. Jeigu visi tie red pilleriai ir panašiai diktuotų tas žinutės kaip, nu, paimprovinkit savo gyvenimą, sutvarkykit savo namus čia, žinai, tipo, sutvarkykit savo asmenybę, eikit ten sportuoti dar kažką. Niekas ir nepistų protėms. Bet ir niekad nebūtų populiarūs, nes ta žinutė, nu, nėra populiari žinutė. Tai jeigu realiai tu nori pinigų užsidirbti ir išpopuliarėti, tu turi eiti smarkiau, garsiau sakyti tas žinutės. Ir tada va tame garsiai sakėme žinučių papildomų tų, ne tik tų gerų patarimų, tu išpopuliarėsi, bet ir susilauksi dėmesio, nes tos žinutės jau actually prastės idiotiškos ir, nu, kaip čia, diskusija šaukiančias, kaip ten depresija is not real ir panašiai, nu, it's fucking retarded. Bet tam irgi yra teisybės, kaip ką Roganas pasakė, jeigu jis būtų tiesiog sakęs tuos patarimus gerus, kur tikrai jis turi gerų patarimų, turbūt nieko ypatingai blogo nebūtų, bet, nu, čia vėlgi unikalus žmogus pats Andrew Tate'as ir jis labai skirtingai užaugęs negu visi kiti, žinai, ir gyvenęs. Tai jo pasaulėžiūra yra įdomesnė jau.
And with Joe Rogan, in the sense that there's a lot of stuff you say I agree with. You know, I've got 3 sons in their 20s. It's not easy, actually, being a young male in the modern world. And I think a lot of the things that you say about that can resonate with them. Yeah. The problem comes with the...
Koks retardas, kad sakiau prieš savaitę, aš ir galvoju, kad depression is not real. Nu, tai tu retardas esi už tą, kad galvoju, nu, aš tau tą sakiau ir paaiškinau, kodėl nesąmonė tai yra. Ar nekartą jau tą paaiškinu. Tai, aš negaliu išmokyti žmonių visko apie viską. Paskaityk, kas yra depresija. Nu, tas pats, kas sakyti, vėžys nėra realybė, nėra tikra. Tiesiog panorėk ir išsigydysi vėžį. Ne, it doesn't work, tai yra liga, tai yra psichologinis sutrikimas. Panorėjęs tu neištaisysi, nu, tipo, tai jau reikia vaistais gydyti, klinikinė depresija yra daktarų diagnozuojama. Tai yra liga, o ne aš sugalvojau ir aš esu liūdnas šiandieną. Nu, žmonės, kurie nelabai susidūrė ir žino, kas tai yra ir nelabai ir supranta, įgės. Kadangi Andrew Tate nesupranta, kas tas yra, jis ir gali sakyti, aš nenoriu būti liūdnas ir nesu liūdnas, nes jis nežino, kas yra depresija. Depresija tai nėra liūdesys, but anyway.
I don't know, 10-20% or whatever of your output, which on the face of it appears to be blatant misogyny. And when you couple that with your massive influence and huge reach, that is why the social media companies have decided to effectively cancel you. I don't believe in cancellation. I don't believe in censorship particularly. That's why I've invited you to come on the show. But I do think a lot of the things you've said are blatant misogyny. Do you accept that?
So you made a very interesting point there. You just said on the face of it appeared to be blatantly misogynistic. I understand that on the face of some of the long format content I've made, if you're going to take a few seconds out of hours, chop it up, put it all over social media, accompanied with my massive fame, then things can absolutely not be taken out of context. I do not hate women in any regard. I have no negative relationship with women. No women have come forward saying I've hurt them. I have no criminal record for hurting women. There's no way I can be seen as the face or the devil in regards to how men treat women on the planet. I'm absolutely and utterly the opposite. I believe in protecting and providing. I've been misunderstood. There's been large contingents of people who have tried very hard to purport lies about me. And the truth of the matter is, I've been producing content for a very long time. Hours and hours of videos been cut down to 2 or 3 seconds of clip. Those clips have gone viral and people...
Nu, tipo, iš esmės jo, damaškasai, Andrew Tate apeliuoja į žmonės, jaunų žmonės, kurie yra gan dumb. Jo žinutės labai dažnai yra surface level supratimas dalykų. Tai tiem žmonėm labai tiks ir pasakymas, kad depresija isn't real, tiesiog just don't be sad. Nes jie tik surface level ir supranta tokį dalyką. Nes jeigu jie suprastų daugiau ir gilintus daugiau, jie iš karto suprastų, kad okay, čia nėra liūdesys tik tais. Bet kadangi vat, jo auditorija ir publika yra tie gan tokie naivesni ir tupesni žmonės, kurie gal patirties neturi, arba tiesiog, sakau, tik paviršutiniškai supranta dalykus, tai tas pasakymas labai gerai vat ir tinka. Nes visuomeniai yra teisybės, kad žmonės labai maišo liūdėsi su depresija ir save diagnozuoja, kad I'm depressed. Ypač Amerikoje tas pasakymas I'm depressed. Jie net nenaudoja to kaip klinikinę depresiją. Jie tą naudoja, kad apibūdinti, kai yra liūdni. Tai kai tu turi tokią visuomenę, kur kiekvieną kartą tu išgirsti iš ten savo 18-mečių ar 16-mečių draugų mokykloje, kad I'm depressed, ir jie tiesiog nėra depresnikai, jie tiesiog, vaikai, teenagers, kur ten, apsimeta, žinai, roleplayina. Tai jo, tada Andrew Tate ateina ir pasako, depression isn't real. Ir tau dar vienas dalykas, kur užkabina, nes tavo pasaulio suvokimas yra labai labai basic ir tu matai tą tokioje vietoje užaugęs, sure. Tai todėl netgi ta žinutė tiek daug žmonių užkabina. Ir ten kartoja paskui vaikai, depression isn't real, kurie net nežino, kas yra depresija, kas yra klinikinė depresija ir kas yra tiesiog liūdesys. Nes čia eilinis pavyzdys, kai per toli nušokama. Esam centre ir mes galim visi pripažinti, kad yra tikrai problema, kai žmonės pasako, kad aš sergu depresiją, kai jie tiesiog yra liūdni ir jiem jokia klinikinė depresija, nėra. Bet tada yra, tai mes visi galim su tuo start, bet tada yra žmonės, kurie peršoka iš karto 5 žingsnius į priekį ir sako, depresija iš vis neegzistuoja. Ir pala, seni, mes sutinkam su to, kad žmonės vartoja žodį ne taip, bet nesutinkam su to, kad depresija neegzistuoja, jinai tikrai egzistuoja. Bet čia jau reikalauja šiek tiek mąstymo virš 5 klasės lygio. Tai tame problema. Neperšokit per toli priekį niekad, biškai arčiau centrą grįžkit, nes tą turbūt matysim ir aš apie tai ateitybiškai kalbėsiu. Bet aš tą matau, kaip žmonės labai labai dažnai daro. Jie paima kažkokią problemą, kuri tikrai egzistuoja. Bet tada jie prišoka prie tokių wild teorijų dėl to, kad tiesiog, mes gal pradžioje ir pritarėm, tam, pavyzdžiui, Black Lives Matter kalbėjau su viena draugė. Aš labai noriu, kad nors Discord'e turėti, bet anyway. Ten Black Lives Matter, tai yra gan šūdna organizacija, yra labai lengvai įrodomų pavyzdžių, kad tikrai labai shady ten ir labai šūdna tipo. Bet tada jinai peršoka ten iki tokių conclusionų, kur ten jau, čia jau borderline konspiracijos teorijas, tai grįžtam gal biškai atgal, nes aš pritariu tam, kad organizacija bloga, bet dar 3 žingsnius į priekį, kai peršoki, tai jau biškai kitaip yra. Anyway. Go.
Misunderstand me.
But I think you use this phrase and be taken out of context, and I'm not sure that is correct in the sense that it still comes out of your mouth. And some of the things you've said, I just think are blatantly.
Well, let's do them. Let's hear them.
Let's go through some.
Sure.
Right. So you said this about Me Too / rape. This is probably 40% of the reason I moved to Romania. In Eastern Europe, none of this garbage flies. You go to the police and say, he raped me back in 1988. They'll say, well, you should have done something about it back then.
Yeah, so the point I was making was obviously at the height of the Me Too scandal, and also if we look at Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, there's been
Vėlgi, šitas pointas, aš nemačiau to klipo originalaus, bet čia vėlgi, problema, kuri tikrai egzistuoja, jis ją paima ir padaro iš to tarsi key pointą. Dabar žmonės, kurie auga, tarkim, Amerikoje, arba Amerikos media konsumina ir panašiai, yra tikrai problema, kad kai moteris, dabar ypač populiaru, nieks nieko nesako, bet tada kažkas išpopuliarėja, arba atsiranda priežastis, kur kažką reikia nukencelinti, ir atsiranda moteris, kurios klaimina sexual assault. Ir problema yra tame, kad dažnai tai yra tikrai teisybė, bet dažnai yra situacija, kur tos moteris be jokių įrodymų atėjo dabar ir taip sako, ir to moterim iš karto maždaug patiki visuomenė. Ir tą žmogų vos nenukencelina be jokių techniškų įrodymų, vien tai, kad atėjo moteris ir klaimino taip. Tai čia yra tokia problema. Tikrai, ne tokia gal dažna, bet yra tokia problema. Tai čia apie tą būtent turbūt ir kalbės, ir man įdomu, iki kokių išvadų jisai prieis. Nes ta problema tikrai yra. Visi turbūt pritars, bet
In a lot of high-profile cases where men have been accused of things they did not do without evidence, and their lives have been completely and utterly destroyed.
Right.
When I say these things, people sit and say that, he hates women. I don't hate women. I think rape is disgusting. I would take a stronger stance on rape than the British government. I think these people should face the death penalty. But to sit and say that women without evidence can go forward and just make up accusations against men, even though they've been repeatedly proven to destroy men's lives at will, is absolutely and utterly
What about
asinine.
a woman who was raped back in 1988 and goes to the police?
Then the man should face absolute and complete justice.
But do you understand that when that clip appears on TikTok as a clip, and all right...
As a clip, completely.
Okay, but it's still something that came out of your mouth. do you accept that when that appears on TikTok, a lot of young, maybe not as smart as you, young men, right? Impressionable, teenagers, will read that and go, what's he saying here? Is he saying that rape doesn't exist?
No,
Va, šitoj vietoj ir yra visas pointas, turbūt, aš tikiuosi apie tai pašnekės, bet aš beje šitą video tai tikrai labai daug pausinsiu. Temos, kuriam daug domėjaus. Vat, Piersas Morganas pats pasakė, žmonės, kurie yra jauni ir jauni vaikai, tipo impressionable, kad jiems lengva įtaką padaryti, jie išgirs tave ir galvos čia rimtai, jos visos melagės ir taip. Čia yra geriausia tada vieta ne užbanint žmogų, o atsakyti jo mintim ir paaiškinti dalykus. Šitaip edukuoti žmonės tada. Užbanindamas žmogų, tu nepaaiškinai, kodėl jisai klydo. Tu iš jo, kaip Piersas ir sakė, padarai martyrą, nes jis irgi yra prieš tą cancel culture. Ir aš esu visiškai prieš tą cancelinimą. Reikia tas mintis challenge'inti ir paaiškinti kitą, parodyti perspektyvą. Dabar įsivaizduokim paimkim tą imaginary vieną vaiką, kuris yra impressionable ir jisai išgirdo Andrew Tate pasakymus ir tada jį užbanino. Jis girdėjo tik tos Andrew Tate pasakymus. Dabar Andrew Tate nebėra, bet tą pasakymą jis jau girdėjo ir ta mintis jo galvoje jau yra. Bet kadangi nebėra Andrew Tate, nebereikia tada ir kalbėti su juo, nieks jo nebekalba. Ir ką tas vaikas nematys, tai atsaka į tą jo teiginį. Paaiškinimą, kad gerai, Andrew Tate čia nusišnekėjo arba nenusišnekėjo, ar yra niuansas, bet to nematys jau. Tai pas tą vaiką dabar lieka tik viena žinutė. Ta, kur sakė Andrew Tate, su kuria galbūt galima sutikti, whatever, bet lieka tik ta viena žinutė. Nėra atsvaros. Ir jis tą tik vieną pasaulėžiūrą realiai gali matyti. Tai čia yra daug žalingiau, negu leisti Andrew Tate šnekėti, nes reikia, kad būtų daugiau minčių negu viena ir tada užbaninti ir ta vienintelė išgirsta lieka pas vaiką mintyse. Anyway, gerai, sorry.
Completely. I'm not going to sit here as a professional and say that I can't be taken out of context. What I will say is that one small sentence you've taken was from a 1-hour video where I explained that, of course, rapists...
Kaip įrodyti, labai sunku. Čia yra didelė problema. Ypač jeigu vėliau ateini. Problema yra, kad net jeigu vėliau neteini, kodėl iš viso moteris daug rečiau kreipiasi ir, bent jau seniau kreipiasi, nes, būtent, nieks jam netikėjo ir labai sunku buvo įrodyti. Ir yra labai sunku įrodyti. Nes, dažniausiai tokiu atveju kambarį būna tik 2 žmonės ir labai dažnai būna jo žodis prieš mano, žinai, tai jau vien toj pusėje sunku įrodyti. Jeigu dar biškai vėliau ateini, tai jau nebėra tų kažkokių fizinių, žinai, įrodymų ar dar kažką, tai jo, visiškai teisus, labai sunku įrodyti. Ir vėlgi, tą kaip ir suprantam. Bet tada kitas dalykas, kai peršokam smarkiai per tolį priekį, kur aktyvistai sako believe all women. Ir iš to atsirado, kad moteris ateina po 15 metų, pasako ir jie automatiškai patiki, net įrodymų nereikia ir vyrą nukancelina. Mes visi galim pripažinti, kad ir čia yra fucking retarded. Tai 2 problemos ir čia tikrai yra labai bloga situacija. Kas dar nepadeda moterų keisui, tai kad ypač Amerikoje dabar žodis tas rape iš vis kaip ir prarado prasmę. Nes tą žodį vartoja žmonės, kai kažkas palėtė pirštu kažkokiam vakarėlį, o jos nenorėjo. I shit you not. Yra išprotėjusių žmonių Twitterį. Tai jie kaip ir tą žodį sunaikino. Tai dabar, kai Amerikos žmogus išgirsta he raped me, gerai, ką būtent tai reiškia? Ar jis ėjo gatve ir tau pasakė kažką, kad tu nenorėjai girdėti, ar jis prie tavęs prie ir tiesiog prisikabinėjo, tavęs net neliesdamas, ar jisai actually tave tiesiog, prirėmė išprievartavo, ką būtent tas reiškia? Nes labai skirtingai ten, tas dar nepadeda. Ir vėlgi buvo labai jau daug pavyzdžių, kur pana nuvaro į kažkokį tūsą ir viskas kaip ir consensual, bet tada apsigalvoja. Tas irgi nepadeda situacijai ir, padaro taip, kad paskui Andrew Tate gali ateiti ir sakyti, moteris griauna karjeras, nes jis gali rasti tokių pavyzdžių, kur moteris atėjo, žinai, taip pasakė ir apjuodino viską. Ir daug tokių niuansų pridedant, pagalvokit dabar, kiek šitų niuansų žinos average Andrew Tate žiūrovas. Ar bus pasidomėjęs, ar sugebės kritiškai vertinti, kiek? Nei vienas. Fucking nei vienas, nes vėlgi, publika gan jauna ir paviršutiniškai besidominti. Tai kai jisai pateiks vieną pavyzdį, kur pana atėjo, apsigalvojo, ar jos draugės paskui kalbino, ar dar kažką, nu, tipo, jisai tą vieną pavyzdį pateiks ir jiems pasakys, žiūrėkit, va situacija tokia yra ir mano išvada tokia. Tam impressionable jaunam žmogui, kuris paviršutiniškai viską supranta, tai atrodys labai logiška ir jisai patikės Andrew Tate. Ir jo žinutė yra aiški. Šitą nuomonę nebūtų labai turbūt sunku netgi pakeisti, jeigu tu šnekėtum su Andrew Tate ir jeigu tu kombatintum jį žinučių lygiai, bet tu užbanai tiesiog jį. Dabar jo žinutės nebėra, bet jin jau buvo pasakyta, jin jau yra tų vaikų mintyse, bet nėra jokios žinutės, kad pakeistų tą. Ir dabar jie eina per gyvenimą su tą žinutę. Moteris meluoja, kai sako rape ir vyrus nukencelina. Ir dabar sekantį kartą, kai bus kažkoks įvykis, jie iš karto matys ir pirma reakcija bus, moteris apkaltino vyrą. Jin turbūt meluoja, o ne, o kaip įdomu iš tikrųjų yra. Ir va čia yra tas blogumas. Ne Andrew Tate žinutės, o tai, kad jį užbanino ir nebuvo žinutės kaip atsako. Tame yra, čia yra problema. Sorry, paskaitysiu chatą, biškai atsilikau. Nebūtinai žymės bus išprotautas kažkas, man regis, čia dar vėlgi, ką tas žodis reiškia. Surinkaras patipuoti galimai. Čia tokie rare cases, 99% būna iš tikrųjų, bet tos pačios 99 moterų biokreips kažkur. Aš sakau, kad čia retas, bet, aš todėl tą pavyzdį ir paskui, tai aš daug nepraleidau. Bet jo, tie dalykai, kad ir tie fringe case'ai tokie, ir tada tas žodžio reikšmės praradimas, specifinis nepadeda. Tai yra padeda Andrew Tate'ui ir jo žinutei. Anyway.
Disgusting.
Hello.
Of course, everybody should be punished for their crimes regardless of when they happen, but people are not perfect, male and female, and if you give women the opportunity to destroy men's lives without evidence, there's going to be a contingent of women who will do that. I'm trying to make a balanced and nuanced argument in a world where people have no attention span. They're going to take a few seconds, put it online, decide someone's good or bad, not be interested in the longer format video, and here I am. No, I'm certainly a person who takes personal responsibility. That's who I am as a person. But we live in a world now with TikTok videos 5 or 6 seconds long. There's no content. Do you think
Jo, čia Andrew Tate self-reportina iš esmės, kad jisai kuria kontentą žmonėms, kurie neturi attention spanų, kurie, vėlgi, paviršutiniškai mąsto apie temas, pažiūri 5 sekundės, nusprendžia viską, tai yra tavo publika. Long form kontentas yra, visi podcastai, Lex Friedmano podcastai, Joe Rogano podcastai, yra daug long form kontento dabar internete ir jie turi savo publiką. Bet ta publika tavim netikės ir tai nėra tavo tipo publika. For the most part, tavo publika ir yra tie 5 sekundžių klipų žiūrėtojai, kurie bus labai impressionable. Tai čia, I guess, pats pasisakė.
No, the point I was making...
Why have you said they are?
Because I made a religious point. I said that when a man marries a woman, the woman's father walks her down the aisle, and hands her away to the man. Traditionally, this is what it says in the Bible. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I live in the most religious country in the world.
So you do think that the woman becomes the man?
I think she takes his last name.
I mean, let's watch the clip that you said about this so that we can get it in context.
So I think my sister is her husband's property, yes. When
Tu praleidai mintį. Kalbam apie TikTok ir jo klipus. Čia viskas čia kalba yra apie klipus. Nes Andrew Tate teiginys kaip atsakas, kad jo žinutės tas jo klipus iškarpo be konteksto. Nes tik jos gali paimti, kaip čia caption žmonių mintis. Būtent tų, kaip jisai pasakė, kur 5 sekundžių klipus tai gali žiūrėti. Tai jo, tu kontą gali daryti, bet čia yra kalba apie klipus, tas 5 sekundžių ir kad jo publika ir jo, Bet jis turi ir podcastus ir čia, valandos 14 minučių, skaitos long form contentas, tai visi tą daro,
bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom.
Plaišnauja šitą.
Yes. When a bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom, the father walks next to her and gives her away. True or false?
Absolutely.
But I've been married twice, as it turns out, and on both occasions I didn't believe that the woman was being handed to me as chattel, as property.
Perhaps the way the reason I'm asked that question repeatedly, and I'm asked in a loaded way.
So would you rephrase what you said there?
Now, that's an interesting point about phrasing. The way I would say things before I was famous, I have to take personal responsibility and accept that if I make a video that 500 people see and 1% of them misunderstand it, that's not a problem. If I make a video that 5 million people see and 1% of them understand.
So specifically on that point, I think my sister is her husband's property.
She took his last name. She married him. She wanted to join his family. She has said it herself.
Right, so she's
still a sovereign individual. She's absolutely not a sovereign individual.
Property means that the husband owns your sister.
Listen, my friend, if we want to argue about this, we need to go back to the Bible, to the Quran. You need to argue with religious leaders.
No, I'm not talking about anything in the Bible or Quran.
But that's what it says.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I think that if a woman marries a man and she decides to take his last name, that they have different roles and responsibilities within that marriage, and I believe that...
That's not the question.
I believe the father... I am.
Jis nenori sakyti, nes skamba labai blogai. Nes realiai viskas, ką jis daro dabar, actually vartosi iš to. Aš tikiu, kad jis gal negalvoja, kad moteris tampa property, actually, bet jeigu tu nori pagauti žmonių dėmesį, tu taip ir pasakysi tą eilutę. Aš suprantu, ką jis nori pasakyti iš religinės pusės, tipo paduoda, bet realiai ir elgdavo su moterim kaip su fucking property. Realiai taip ir buvo pasaulyje, dar iki dabar taip yra, tam tikros šalyse vedina ten, anksčiau ten dėl politinių, priežasčių, religinių priežasčių ten, true, moteris ir buvo su jom elgiamasi kaip su objektais labai daug ir labai dažnai. Tai jo, tu gali tą sakyti, bet, Andrew nenori sakyti to, nes, tai yra optiškai labai blogai atrodytų. Jis nori spininti kažkaip, kai jis čia kalbėjo kaip faktą istorinį, žinai. Ir, he's fucked.
Don't behave like a politician.
The father hands her to the man.
Right, but don't be a politician, because I think you're a straight talker,
sure.
Right? You keep telling me you're a straight talker.
Čia buvo kozeris iš Andrew Pierso, nes nieks neapsigins nuo to. Tipo, tu gali tiesiog pripažinti, turbūt geriausias kelias būtų šitoje vietoje sakyti, žiūrėk. Aš nežinau, kada jis tą pasakė, bet turbūt pasakiau tą tiesiog biškai riebiau, nes tai istoriškai buvo teisinga, ir tipo, aš pasakiau, kad daugiau jokių pritraukti. Aš nemanau, kad moteris yra property, tipo. Bet su jom tikrai elgiasi kaip property ir aš maždaug iš tos pusės noriu pasakyti. Turbūt toks atmazas būtų Andrew Piers, tai iš tos pusės turbūt galėtų taip atsimazinti labiau ir eiti, bet dabar jis visiškai vengia to klausimą ir, nes,
I understand that with my newfound fame, perhaps it could be phrased differently. However, I still believe that a woman is given to the man in marriage. That's what I believe.
Yeah, but not
but not property.
Property is the word that other people use when they ask me the question.
But as an equal partner in a loving union, that's what marriage actually means. It doesn't mean that when you get married, the woman is given to you as a bit of chattel.
Agreed.
So why say it?
But that's the way that people ask me the question. People say to me, they ask the question.
Hang on. You can't blame people for asking you questions. Surely, if you want to be accountable for what you've said, you've got to own your responses, not blame the question.
I own the response.
It'd be like me asking you a question now and you say something and then say, well, actually, I blame you for asking.
I understand, Piers. Piers, I understand. I believe the woman is given to the man. I believe she's given away by the father. I believe she belongs to the man.
So fundamentally, you do believe that a woman becomes a man's property at marriage.
I believe she belongs to the man in marriage, correct.
Right.
Aš šitą atsakymą, šitą pasaulėžią aš jau girdėjau. Techniškai, kai sako belongs, tai ne iš tos pusės, kad daiktas moteris yra, o iš tos pusės, kad vyras yra atsakingas už moterį. Nes jis apie tai yra, vėlgi, long form podcastų kitur kalbėjęs. Ir čia, manau, žinutė pasiklysta. Nes kai sako belongs, kažkas priklauso kažkam, labai lengva interpretuoti kaip daiktas. Telefonas priklauso man, žinai. Daiktas. Moteris yra daiktas, moteris priklauso kažkam. Bet kai jisai plačiau aiškina, jo mintyse, kai jisai sako tą, tai yra, kad vyras yra atsakingas už moterį. Nes visai pasaulėža, kuris advokatuoja, kad vyras turi providinti moterį, rūpintis moterim ir, tipo, tą daryti, tipo. Tai čia iš tos pusės labiau negu, kad moteris yra daiktas. Bet, good luck.
Right. You see, that to me is misogyny.
And you're entitled to your opinion.
Right. But do you not understand why people think it is misogyny?
I understand why some people can be very offended
Vaikas juk irgi belongs to their parents. Jo, ir vaikas irgi nėra daiktas. Jo, bet aš todėl ir paaiškinu, nes tai, ką jis pasakė, sakau, bet kas gali feministę pabėgs, jis vadina moterį daiktų. Ir jis tada galėjo sakyti, tas belong žodis nereiškia, kad tu daiktas, tiesiog tas yra atsakingas už tą. Mano kontekste, tipo, mano pasaulėžiūrai. Bet, va čia yra tas niuansas, kad reikia gilinti, šnekėti ir išsiaiškinti. Kai užbaninti, tas dialogas nevyksta jau, tipo, tai, Sutinku karalių, kad moteris belongs to man. Daug mažiau negu Andrew Tate galvotų. Aš daug labiau agency skiriu. Aš manau, kad yra dalykai, kur vyras bus labiau atsakingas, tipo, ir turėtų būti labiau atsakingas, nes logiška būtų. Jeigu vyrai on average yra fiziškai stipresni, jie, turėtų labiau atsakyti toj vietai. Bet man atrodo, daug daugiau moteris ir vyrai daug panašesni ir jie, labiau, kaip čia, ypač santykiuose atsakingi gal už skirtingus dalykus labiau būtų, bet, tas agency padalintas apylygiai būtų, sakyčiau. Tikrai ne taip, kaip Andrew Tate'as galvoja, kad, tipo, čia moteris kaip visiškas vaikutis, kur reikia ten rūpintis visko, tipo, kas nori tokios moters, kas norėtų tokios moters, tai, net, I don't know. Pusė čiato bachūrų norėtų priklausyti bent kokiai panai. Tu norėtum priklausyti panai? Ne. Ne. Blemba, aš tą pasakiau, bet realiai aš dabar galvoju, tipo, norėtum? Ne, aš nenorėčiau. Ne. Mano santykiuose aš visą laiką turėčiau būti ir turėjau būti autoritetas. Taip veikia. Patinka žmonės, kurie nėra tiesiog visiškai, kur pasiduos bet kada, juos papušinsi ir tiesiog nekovos dėl nieko, tiesiog, man visiškai tokie nepatinka. Man patinka konfliktas, man patinka pakovot. Bet, tipo, iš tam tikrų pusės aš turiu vis tiek šiek tiek būti autoritetas. Man atrodo, tas yra labai standartiška iš tikrųjų. Ir realiai, kiek aš pažįstu moterį, bet čia turbūt šališka, nes, aš tada ir bendrausiu labiau su tokiom moterim. Bet to moterim irgi reikia, kad vyras būtų šiek tiek bent jau kažkiek autoritetas. Aš tą autoritetą žodį turbūt čia gan plačiai naudoju, daug į tą įdedu, bet anyway, klausom toliau. Andrew Tate.
What they do is they take a point like that and they ignore all the other points I make the other way around.
Yeah, but that's why I've repeatedly asked you about that line to see if you've changed your position, but the reality is you haven't.
It's not about changing positions. I'm a full-grown adult and I stick by the things I say and I'm responsible for them.
Which, by the way, is fine.
Absolutely.
But you did say at the start of this little exchange, you said, I wouldn't maybe say things the same way now that I did before I was famous. And yet, actually, you've doubled down and said exactly the same thing.
On certain points.
So that is what you believe. That's my point.
Yes.
I'm trying to work out, look, I don't know you. We've just met, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out who Andrew Tate is and what you actually believe. I don't want to twist anything at all.
Then let me make it very, very clear to the camera. I believe a woman is given to the man in marriage. I believe that. I also believe a man has a duty to protect and provide for her. I believe a man should lay down his life if something happens or his wife's life is threatened. I believe that women and children first are on the lifeboats.
But men,
I believe that men...
But a man doesn't own a woman.
It's not, no. It's, okay.
Unless they literally buy them as a slave.
Well, obviously we're not talking about that. We're talking about religious, biblical marriage. We're talking about something else.
Yeah, but I'm a Christian. I don't believe that I own my wife.
Do you believe your wife was given away to you when she took your last name?
I believe that there is a process.
Ne, aš nesuprantu, jie nedaina prie to, bet Andrew tai čia yra blogas, kad gal suprasti, kur yra konfliktas. Nes va tas giveaway atiduoda, kad rūpintumės. Kai aš su draugė variau, su savo pirmą draugę, variau į atostogas, ten pirmą kartą būtų skrydom lėktuvų ir panašiai, ir kitą šalį varėm kartu ten savaitę į Kretą varėm. Jos tėtis man pasakė, pasirūpink vardas. Aušra, visi žino, aš pasakosiu, pasirūpink Aušra, tipo. Kaip ir jeigu būsime susituokę, čia kaip Andrew Tate pasako, kur tipo ten atveda ir perdo. Tai ne tam, kad kaip daiktą, o kad rūpinkis, tipo, kad, atsakingas jauskis. Čia iš to ties, bet jiem, va, ta žinutė stringa ir jie va dabar nesuranda, kame yra konfliktas. Vienas galvoja, kad čia vienas sako šitas galvoja, kodėl tu nesupranti, aš taip sakau, ir va tie neišsiaiškina esminio dalyko.
Where a father traditionally walks his daughter down the aisle and hands his daughter to this man, and they stand there and become a union of two loving people in a partnership. No, there's no ownership involved.
I didn't say
he's not selling.
Jo, ir jis nesakė ownership.
Selling his daughter.
Jo, nes, blet, kaip sunku. Užstrigęs Piersas Morganas ir tas užstrigęs, ir nei vienas, nei kitas. Nesakė ownership. Jam vis dar atrodo, kad perdavė, davė, tipo, tai kad kaip daiktą. Ne, blet, fuck.
That's what property means.
She becomes a member of your family.
Ne property.
I think we're arguing over semantics.
We're not, though, because fundamentally, I don't believe a man owns a woman. You do.
Well, I don't think a man owns any sovereign individual. I don't think we live in the world of slavery. I don't own any men or any woman.
Right.
Nobody owns
anybody. When you use phrases like property, that's what you imply.
I understand.
And so my point again is, you're a smart guy, right?
Correct,
There's no denying that. You're smart, you're a good talker. I've seen a lot of the stuff. But when what I don't think you quite fully understand.
No, I understand very well.
When young, impressionable people
who
are not as smart see things like, I think my sister is her husband's property, yes, and you've just reaffirmed that belief, they think that they have the right to own women.
I understand that very well, Piers. Which is why...
Moteris turi mumis rūpintis už buvusias kartas. Yra vienas dalykas teisybė, kur moteris tikrai turi rūpintis, kaip aš susirgu. Kur aš toks lopas užtariu, kai aš sergu. Man neįtikėtina yra. Peršlimas gali būti viskas. Aš ligonis, tipo, ten, gal peršlimas pohui, bet, tipo, kokia, ten gripas, kažkas biškai sunkesnio, viskas. Aš useless. Moteris kažkaip ten, šiaip žmonės sugeba ir į darbus dar eiti, blet, ir ten tvarkyti reikalus, ne, aš fucking useless. Aš būsiu namie, nieko nedarysiu ir prašau manim rūpinkitės, kol aš pasveiksiu, nes fuck that shit, aš nefunkcionuojantis. Tai iš tos pusės tikrai taip. Visais kitais atvejais aš būnu labiau biškai dominant už kokią moterį ten bebūčiau, bet fuck me.
People think you're a misogynist.
Completely. I understand all of this very well, which is why when you're saying I was backtracking, I'm not.
Do you have any regret, though, over the way you phrase this stuff?
Well, this is the point I was trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is when I was not nearly as famous and I was making long format content, I was not sitting there anticipating I'd become the most Googled man on the planet and that a few seconds could be taken out of context. That was not my anticipation.
No, but it's still what you believed. It's what you believe now. So what's the difference?
It's not about, you're asking me, you're saying that young people who are impressionable.
If you said to me, look, Piers, honestly, I've had time to think about this and I wish I hadn't said it, I don't believe that. That's one thing. Actually, you've said the opposite. You said, actually, that's what I think, yeah.
I think that...
Jo, tik jūs nesiaiškinot, ką jis actually believe. Vat čia yra problema. Nes Andrew Tate gali pasakyti, jo, aš tom tikiu. Bet kai Piersas Morganas sako, tu tiki, kad moteris yra nuosavybė, pala. Ne. Mes neišsiaiškinom dar būtent, tipo, ką tai reiškia. Nes jis galvoja, kad nuosavybė, tas, kaip rūpintis, bet jie va to neišsiaiškino, tai Andrew Tate dabar negali pripažinti, kad jo, aš tom tikiu. Nes tai, ką Piersas Morganas sako, tai kad jis tada, pripažintų, kad galvoja, kad moteris nuosavybė, bet jis taip netiki tuo, tai aišku, to net nepripažins. O jeigu ir tiki, tai būtų bloga optika ir jis to nepripažintų. Anyway.
It doesn't really matter whether you recorded it when you're famous or not famous. It's what you actually believe, right?
I believe that a man has a duty to protect and provide for a woman. I believe that a woman's father gives her away to the man. That's what I believe, and that's in my marriage, that's the circumstance I'm going to live under.
Jis šitą pačią žinutę, žiūrėk, idealiai suformuok.
Gives her away to the man. That's...
Tu, kad rūpintis moterim. Ir tada viskas, nes tu paaiškinai, kaip ir jis pasakė dabar ne ką Piersas Morganas galvoja, kad tiki. Ir va, ko aš tikiu, ir išdėsto.
It doesn't really matter whether you recorded it when you're famous or not famous. It's what you actually believe, right?
I believe that a man has a duty to protect and provide for a woman. I believe that a woman's father gives her away to the man. That's what I...
To protect and provide for her. Ir viskas, ir čia taškas. Ne kaip nuosavybė. Bet yet, I guess...
I believe, and that's in my marriage, that's the
circumstance I'm going to live under.
If people want to live in a different scenario, that's completely theirs. Their prerogative.
You went on to say about authority over women. If I have a responsibility over her, I must have a degree of authority.
Yeah.
For the same reason, if I have responsibility over and people are going to use their mind, it's an example, an analogy, responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority. Yeah. So you believe as part of your ownership or your property of the woman, you have
responsibility,
authority.
Ne ownership or responsibility. Fuck, mano smegenys ištirps. Nes jie nieko to neišsiaiškins. Ir jis toliau elgsis ir mąstys iš tos pusės. Fuck.
Over part of your ownership or your property of
Ne,
the woman,
kaip atsakingas už kažką, tu turi turėti autoritetą kažkokį. Jeigu tu esi atsakingas už kažką, tipo, čia kaip darbe, pavyzdžiui, jeigu tavo pavaldinys kažką padaro ir tada tu kentiesi nuostolius dėl to, tu esi atsakingas tada, ką tas pavaldinys daro, bet tu turi turėti ir autoriteto už tą pavaldinį. Nes tu turi kažkiek koreguoti ir kontroliuoti jo elgseną. Nes jeigu jis gali belenką daryti, o tu atsakingas už tai, it doesn't work. Tu nesi tada atsakingas. O kadangi tau duoda, tipo, jo pasaulėžiūrai to Andrew Tate, duoda moterį ir vyras yra atsakingas, kad jie rūpintųsi ir viską, tai taip, tada logiškai sektų, kad vyras turėtų turėti kažkokį autoritetą, kad galėtų koreguoti elgesį. Nes jis atsakingas už ją. Bet Piersas Morganas galvoja, kad čia kalba ne apie atsakingas už, o nuosavybę. Tau priklauso, kas yra esminis skirtumas.
I believe if you have
that's what you said.
I believe if you have responsibility over something, you have to have a degree of authority or you can't be responsible.
Yeah, but authority means,
exactly,
again, that you're the boss.
The point I'm making...
Jo, bet you're the boss savo pavaldiniam nereiškia, kad pavaldiniai tavo priklausomybė. Jeigu tu esi bosas darbe, tavo darbuotojai nėra tavo priklausomybė. Tai yra tavo nuosavybė. Ir Piersas galėtų tą suvokti, turėtų tą suvokti, aš nežinau. Bet arba jis nenori ar kažką, aš...
If you'll please let me finish at this point. The point I was trying to make was talking about the safety of a woman. She was walking alone at night. And I said, well, I wouldn't let my woman walk alone at night. And they said, well, you're not in charge of her. You don't get to decide what she does. I said, I understand, but if I'm responsible for her safety, and I'm the person who's burdened with making sure she is safe, I have to have the authority to say, don't put yourself in unsafe situations. The two things are linked.
Well, you don't have authority. You can absolutely have the right to say to the woman you're with, I don't think you should, but ultimately...
If she decides, then I can't force her.
Right, so authority implies that you have the ability to control someone.
No, authority implies that I have the moral right to sit and say that that's an irresponsible thing to do and I'm responsible for it.
Čia nieko blogai Andrew Tate nesako,
if you
čia
think I'm
labai
going to
logiška,
lock
ką
somebody
sako.
up in their room, is that what you're implying?
No, I don't think you know what authority means.
I know what it means. I'm saying that if
You just said a different description of what authority
if
means.
I have responsibility for her safety, then I have to have the authority to tell her not to do unsafe
Yeah,
things.
but authority means that you have some form of control.
Man atrodo, Andrew Tate nesuprato, kur pas Morganą užkliuvo tas. Jisai supranta, kad gerai, Morganas sako, kad aš tikiu dalykais, kuriais aš netikiu, ir jis mėgina paaiškinti savo tikrą tikėjimą, bet jis neidentifikavo momento, kur Pierso smegenyse užkliuvo tas. Nes jis tada ir galėtų dresuoti. Kai aš sakau responsible, tai aš kalbu apie responsibility, o ne nuosavybę. Ir tipo, jis keltų tos pačius, pavyzdžius. Net kaip pasakė bosas. Bet jo, ką Andrew Tate, man atrodo, šitoje vietoje mato, tai kad mane charakterizuoja kaip visiškai ne mano tikėjimus. Ir aš mėginu paaiškinti, ką aš actually tikiu. Bet kadangi jis techniškai ne visai identifikuoja ir turbūt nesupranta, kur Pierso Morgano galvoje ir mąstyme užkliuvo, tas nesutarimas atsirado ir...
over this woman.
I think what you're trying to
I'm
do...
only trying to get to what you think. Honestly, I am. I come with no agenda here at all.
I understand. And I'm explaining very, very clearly. If I have responsibility over said subject, I have to have authority over it. So let me say you have children, right?
Right.
You have responsibility for them.
No, I have legal authority over my children. That is very different to having legal authority over my wife or my female partner.
Completely, but the point I'm trying to make...
So you accept that?
I accept that
you used the analogy of responsibility for a child.
My friend, these are very...
These are actually really important things.
They're important things, but you interrupt me every 5 seconds, so it's hard for me to actually explain my point. The point I'm making here is very simple. You have children, and you're responsible for their safety, so you're going to have a...
Pierso Morgano veidas, kai pasakė, kad tu mane pertraukinai kas 5 sekundės. Jis toks... Okay. Ir kaip jisai stengiasi dabar, kuo ilgiau nepertraukti ir išklausyti, bet tai ilgai labai nesitęs.
Important things, but you interrupt me every 5 seconds, so it's hard for me to actually explain my point. The point I'm making here is very simple. You have children, and you're responsible for their safety, so you're going to have authority to say, don't go out at night, perhaps, because you want them to be safe.
I have legal authority.
You have a legal authority.
Yeah.
Legal authority. I'm saying that if I had a woman, and the question where you've raised this soundbite from, I was asked about protecting a woman, making sure she's safe. And I would say I wouldn't want her to go out at night on her own because I'm responsible for her safety. And someone said, well, you don't have authority over her to do that. And I said, well, no, I can't force her to stay inside. But if she were to ask me, how do I protect myself at night? I would say, well, you should stay inside. That's how you should do it.
I don't have an issue with what
so
you
we
just
agree.
Said. No.
It's the semantics.
No, it's not semantics. And this is where I don't think you quite get why
actually agree
over what you say. With respect. Because the semantics point would be if we're saying the same thing in different ways. But we're not. I'm saying to you that when you say I have to have some authority over a woman, I say to you, you have no right to any authority over a woman. You do over a child if it's your child.
It's the part
because you are
soccer,
the legal
though.
appointed guardian of that child.
Understood.
You're not a legally appointed guardian or authority over your wife or female partner.
Legally appointed, absolutely not. I agree. However, when it comes to things like...
Bet jo pasaulėžiūrai, kaip jisai sakė, Andrew Tate pasaulėžiūrai, jis religingas yra labiau, senamadiškų tokių pažiūrų, tipo, kai santykiuose vyras yra atsakingas už moters gerovę, jis turi rūpintis. And that's fine. Nieko su to blogo nėra. Kai jis susitokia, tėvas duoda moterį, duoda savo dukrą, kad ją rūpintus vyras. Vėlgi, su to nieko blogo nėra. Žmonės taip gyvena, žmonės gali taip gyventi. tai nieko blogo neturi. Nu, ir čia yra viskas su tuo gerai, nes jo tokia pasaulėžiūra ir jis taip gyvena, it's fine. Bet Piers Morganas mėgina sakyti, kad legaliai, jo, niekas įstatymo tokio neparašė, bet tokie papročiai, tokia religija, toks mano pasaulėžiūra. Ir tada vėl grįžtam prie to, kad tai yra blogai Pierso Morgano akyse, nes jisai nesupranta, kad čia yra rūpinimasis, o ne nuosavybė. Ir mes square one.
Personal responsibility or personal safety, men, largely by society, are accepted. We're the protectors and providers. We can sit here and pretend that in the world we live in, if me and my wife were walking down the street and men were to come up and try and attack us, I wouldn't be the one fighting. But we both know in reality I would.
Right.
I have a degree of responsibility to protect her. So if I have a degree of responsibility to protect her physically, then the point I'm trying to make is I will do my best to make sure she's never put herself in
You hadn't used the word authority.
The authority is something that she would give to me. She would come to me and say, how can I make sure I'm as safe as possible?
But I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to point out that's not what authority means.
If someone gives, a person can give
voluntary authority is not authority.
No, but that's the point.
It's not.
Piers.
Andrew, it's not.
Piers, if a woman comes to me and says, I want you to keep me safe, she is handing me authority for her safety.
But do you understand the difference between having authority over somebody and somebody giving you permission to have authority?
Authority, the power or right to give orders, make decisions and enforce obedience. Realiai tai tą patį reiškia. Tiesiog Piersui Morganui nepatinka žodis tas, nes jis jį gal priema daug grubiau, bet, tu jį gali priimti labai ir paprastai. Ir tu gali duoti authority, kad kažkas kitas priimtų sprendimą už tave. Ir kaip ir Andrew Tate sako, jeigu aš esu atsakingas už kažką, aš turiu kažkiek autoriteto turėti. Tai yra teisė actually priimti kažkokį sprendimą ir panašiai. Ir čia perfectly fine. Ir tą žodį panaudoti perfectly fine 5 minutės atgal suks.
Having authority over somebody and somebody giving you permission to have authority.
Completely. I never said
one is consensual and one isn't.
But why are we pretending I do unconsensual things?
Because you literally say, I must have a degree of authority.
Yeah. What the fuck? Čia yra labai tupas argumentas iš Pierso. Jam nepatiko žodis autoritetas, nes čia dabar paėmė ir kontroliuoji. Ir jis sako, jam nepatiko tas žodis ir sako Andrew Tate, kad tu negerai tą žodį vartoji, nes tau gali duoti leidimą, kad tu priimtum sprendimus, bet tai yra authority. Ir jis asiumina, kad Andrew Tate priverčia moteris elgtis kaip obedient šuniukai ir kad jisai priiminės sprendimus. O kas tai pasakė? Visi žmonės, kur su jo yra, jie renkasi, ko jiem reikia. Yra dahuja ir biški moterų, kur nori autoritetingo vyro. Visi gali rinktis, kaip gyventi ir ko nori. Bet Piers Morganas dabar kažkodėl įsivaizduoja, kad kai Andrew Tate sako authority, tai jis turi meni, kad per prievartą priiminės sprendimus, o moteris to nenori. That's fucking bullshit.
Pretending I do unconsensual things.
Because you literally say, I must have a degree of authority. I have to have some authority. And the point about
only if I'm responsible for her safety. If I'm not responsible for her safety, I don't have authority.
If your position now is...
Pasakysiu šitą. Labai keista diskusija, tu negali merginai liepti pasilikti namuose, tu gali tik jai patarti. Authority yra kind vadovavimas, tu lieptų merginai neiti vakare į lauką ir tai būtų neteisinga. Jeigu tu esi santykiuose su mergina, kaip Andrew Tate atsakytų, ir mergina pasakys, ir jūsų santykių dinamika ir viską, kad vyras atsakingas už merginą, o Andrew Tate tik tokių moterų ir ieško, obedient šuniukų, realiai, kur sakiau, aš tokiu moterim nenorėčiau niekad būti, bet Andrew Tate su tokiu moterim ir yra. Ir jis yra atsakingas už jas, tai jos ir duoda jam tą teisę priimti sprendimą, tą vadovavimą. Čia būtent apie tai Andrew Tate ir sako, kas yra perfectly logiška. Jeigu tu turi atsakyti už kažką, tu turi turėti teisę priimti sprendimus. Jeigu tu neturi teisės priimti sprendimų, ne visus, bet tam tikrus, kartais, kur su saugumu gal susiję, tarkim. Jeigu tu neturi tos teisės, to autoriteto priimti sprendimus, to vadovavimo, tu deduktyviai logiką naudojam, tu negali būti atsakingas tada už to žmogaus veiksmus ir už tą žmogų. Tai labai logiška tas. Ir Andrew Tate nesako, kad mergina turi klausyti, bet jisai nebus su tom. Ir jisai irgi turi teisę rinktis savo santykius. Kad jeigu bus pana, kur vapšė jo neklauso, jam netiks, jis su tokia pana nebus, nes jisai turi būti santykiuose autoritetas ir, turi prižiūrėti tą moterį. Tai, and that's fine. Ir aš net... Jūs šitas debliukai esate ar anglų nemokat? What? Kad visi ir tą anglų moka ir prie ko čia... Ką? Apie ką aš kalbą neįsivaizduoju. Bet jo, man labai keista, kodėl aš atsuksiu 5 sekundės. Kodėl Piersas Morganas taip prisikabino ir tarsi čia kaltina Andrew Tate, kad jis kažką daro unconsensual, nes čia nieko tokio nėra.
Because you literally say, I must have a degree of authority. I have to have some authority. And the point about
Only if I'm responsible for her safety. If
Yeah.
I'm not responsible for her safety, I don't have authority.
If your position now is that with her permission, I would like to have authority when we go out at night to protect her, that's a different
That was
thing.
always my
Čia visą laiką buvo jo pozicija.
But that was always my
That's
position.
exactly ką jis pasakė. Jo, bet that's exactly ką jis pasakė.
So again,
Fuck
I simply
me.
say to you,
It is what I said, though.
Do you wish you'd phrased it a different way?
No, because we're talking about long format copy where I'm talking about a woman who has come to me and said, you're responsible for making sure I'm safe. I said, well, then I have to make the decisions.
When an
which gives me
18-year-old
authority.
boy reads, I must have some authority over a woman, what do you think he thinks?
Well, I understand.
Jo, ir čia jau yra atskira problema. Kai vaikai tupi, jo žinutės matys ir visiškai kitaip interpretuos, todėl reikia neužbaninti žmogų, o duoti kitos pasaulėžiūros ir paaiškinimus ir daugiau dialogo, niuansą parodyti, kur diskusija gali vykti, o neužbaninti žmogų. Čia yra didžiausias argumentas prieš tos fucking banus. Bet jo, ta žinutė, kurią Andrew Tate pasakė, yra fine. Bet tada, jeigu pažiūrėsim, ką 16-metis bachūras išgirdęs, jis aišku fucking nieko nesupras ir galvos, kad panos ten arba objektai yra, ar iš vis net pusę žodžių nesupras. Bet Andrew Tate tu negali kaltinti. There's no way. Nes tai, ką jis pasakė, ne tą reiškia. Literally ne tą reiškia. Plet, fuck
Understand
me.
that, and I said this earlier when you tried to say I was backtracking, which I'm not doing. I
No,
understand.
actually, I don't want to.
Okay.
I'm not trying to gotcha you.
Cool.
I'm trying to work out exactly what you
I
actually
understand with massive fame comes massive responsibility. I understand that a percentage of the population are always going to take everything that's said by anybody out of context.
think. Would you change the wording of what you said there?
No, I would just encourage people to watch my long format copy and understand it
Would
fully.
you tell an 18-year-old
Bet
boy
tu
you
to
don't
nedarei,
have
though.
authority over women?
Absolutely.
You would
unless,
say that?
Unless a woman comes to him and says, you're responsible for my safety, please make sure, keep me safe. Like
I
my
see.
woman
Now
says,
that
comes to
Andrew
me.
Tate, I can sign up to.
Well, then we agree.
Yeah, but I don't agree with what you said before.
Because you're taking a soundbite from a 2-hour
yeah, but
conversation.
you haven't been taken out of context because I read you the entire sentence. It's very.
But you've
debatable.
ignored all the context around the sentence, my friend.
You can't ignore a sentence that says I must have a degree of authority.
But
Pala, tai, blet, kontekstas yra svarbu, tu negali išsirinkti. Čia kai grafiką numeta kažkokį ir pritraukia būtent tą vietą, kur, jam tinka. Tada gerai žiūrėk, aš parodžiau kontekstą. Gerai, padidink tą grafiką ir pamatysim kitą vaizdą. Tai jo, tas sakinys be konteksto nieko nereiškia. That's so fucking dumb. Ir šitas argumentas yra so dumb iš Pierso. Tiek daug vietų tu galėtum Andrew Tate atakuoti. Bet atakuoja tokiuose vietose tokiais šudniais argumentais, kad net Andrew Tate atrodo daug protingesnis už Piersą. Kas yra tragedija. Fuck me. O Andrew Tate nėra labai protingas žmogus. Jis, vėlgi, depression isn't real, tokius absurdus šneka. Jis turi tikrai savotišką pasaulėžiūrą, kuri yra tikrai questionable kartais ir nerekomenduotina turbūt 99% žmonių gyventi taip, bet tai yra jo pasirinkimas. Dėl to mes prisikabinti negalim, bet mes galim prisikabinti dėl tų dalykų, kur sako, kur yra absurdas, kaip kad depresija neegzistuoja ir panašiai. Bet ar Piersas prie to prisikabins? Jis geriau darys tokius tupus argumentus, kaip kur tik ką padarė, kad jo, aš sakinį išėm ir kontekstas aplink sakinį nesvarbu, tipo, what the fuck.
Ken, when there's a 2-hour conversation where a woman is telling me if she makes me responsible for her safety and me explaining, well, if I'm responsible for your safety, I have the authority to make decisions. So yes, you've ignored all the context.
Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
I think there's attractive people
Pala, čia dabar jau pakeitė temą.
be responsible for her safety and me explaining, well, if I'm responsible for your safety, I have the authority to make decisions. So yes, you've ignored all the context.
Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
I think there's attractive people. That's a loaded question. I don't know.
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking it?
Of course I do, but I can't sit here and
for
say.
the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm asking, you said this. In general, this is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right effing now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. People say, oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up. That is misogyny.
Why?
Because you are...
O, čia šitas jau, oh my god, kaip čia Piersas blogai atrodys. Jis paims argumentą ir, tą klipą ir teiginį, kur Andrew Tate, kur pasakė, tikrai skamba ne kažką, tipo. Techniškai, turbūt mes labai daug rasim pavyzdžių ir, net biologija turbūt, kad jauna moteris bus patrauklesnė vyrui. Man atrodo, actually, iš biologinės pusės. Ir ties to galėtumėm ginčytis dabar ir panašiai, bet Andrew Tate pasakė priežastį, kodėl. Ir ne dėl to, kad yra tam tikri bruožai ten veido, ar jaunatviškesnis ten kūnas, whatever. Ne tai, jis pasakė dėl to, kad jaunesnė turėjo mažiau bybio. Jisai taip išsireiškė. Ir čia jau Andrew Tate galėtų atakuoti, bet...
More for me to clean up. That is misogyny.
Why?
Bet, ką Piersas Morganas tada padarė, jis pats sunaikino savo argumentą, nes žodis misogyny ne tą reiškia, ką Piersas Morganas galvoja. Nes misogyny yra hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against women. It's a form of sexism that keeps women at a lower social status than men. Bet čia visiškai ne apie tą šneka. Čia geriausiu atveju apie ageizmą šneka tada. Bet pagal tą žodžio apibrėžimą nieko, ką Piersas Morganas čia galėtų atakuoti dabar, misogyny ne prie ko čia. Čia žmonių preference, jaunesnės prieš vyresnės, ar jaunesnės yra labiau patrauklios dėl to, kad jos mažiau partnerių turi. Šitos argumentus Piersas Morganas gali atakuoti. Ir čia būtų gan stipri pozicija turbūt iš Morgano. Bet jis tą pavertė, kad tai yra misogyny. Ir jis nežino, ką reiškia žodis misogyny. Ir čia dar kartą, protingesnis žmogus, kalbėdamas su Andrew Tate, ir būtent iš tos pusės kalbėtų, mėgintų exposinti už tą galbūt mintį, arba priversti jį paaiškinti tą mintį. Bet tu paverti viską, kad it's a misogyny thing, bet tai net ne tą žodį reiškia.
Because you are encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds and having effectively been having too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
Well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
Well, what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny.
Ir tą ir pasakė, net jeigu tai būtų teisybė, tai nebūtų misogyny.
Because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old women.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny then, isn't it?
No.
That's
being anti any woman at all.
No, you retard.
Not when I'm saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age and saying the age.
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, than ageist perhaps, but misogynistic absolutely
Is that
not.
But you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't.
No.
You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
So you don't think if you're saying slightly hateful things about a 25-year-old...
That's not slightly hateful.
Well, it is. You think you say that to a woman's face if she's 25?
It's not slightly hateful.
So you would go up to a 25-year-old woman and tell her exactly what I've just read out.
Why would I walk up to...
Gerai, Piersai Morganai. Paimkim kitą pavyzdį. Ne 25 metų moteriai tada. 90 metų moteriai. Ar galėtumėm tą patį pasakyti? Mes būtumėm šikniai turbūt, bet tai būtų visiškai 100% faktas, kad, bet 18 metų pana bus patrauklesnė vyram negu 90 metų moteris. Privedam tavo pavyzdį, Pierso Morgano pavyzdį, kai ekstremo. Ir jo, čia būtų ageizmo forma, bet ne misogyny. Tai reiškia, kad tu moterų nekenti. Bet vėlgi, Piersas Morganas jau sunaikino pats savo argumentą ir dabar nukrypstami tiesiog absurdą. Fuck me. Davai kažkas protingesnė pašneka su Andrew Tate, nes, čia, Jesus.
To a random 25-year-old woman.
Because you said it in public on the internet, and it's been listened to and watched by millions and millions of young, impressionable boys.
Correct. There was a large panel. There was a conversation. There was hours long of conversation. There were feminists attacking men for toxic masculinity and attacking me and saying things, and I said things back which were going to antagonize
But I think,
them.
see,
Which you've done.
Čia net Destiny nereikia, kad Andrew Tate vartytų, nes... Bet kas, I guess, kas nėra labai šališkas, aš nežinau, arba Piersas Morganas čia yra jo būdas, kaip sukurti viral video. Nes aš nežinau jo true beliefs, aš nežinau, aš netikiu, kai jis... Vėlgi, aš vakar kalbėjau, kas yra protingas žmogus. Tu gali savo darbą išmanyti, bet tu nebūsi protingas žmogus. Nu, tai nebent jis ir tiesiog yra fucking dumb. Jis išmoka savo karjerą, tipo, nu, elgtis ir kaip populiarus būti ir viską, bet gauna informacijos ir tiesiog nesugeba jos procesuoti, nes jis visiškai nei argumentas stiprų čia padarė, nei supranta, ką Andrew Tate sako, net jam gal ir vienodai, I don't know.
Yourself a bunch of times.
I think a lot of allegations of toxic masculinity are not toxic.
Correct.
I do think that kind of sentence that I just read out, that paragraph, is actually toxic. If you genuinely mean that, and you say you wouldn't say it to a woman's face, but you said it in public about women of that age, I do think that's misogyny.
Ne, tai tu jau norėjau ginti Piersą, nes jis pasakė, I do believe this sentence is toxic. I probably agree. Tas pasakymas, kad, nu, labai jauna bus daug patrauklesnė negu vyresnė. Jo, visas tas pasakymas, jo, ta žinutė ir čia, bet tada jis vėl grįžta, and that's misogyny. Ir tu vėl sunaikinai savo argumentą, nežinodamas, ką žodis reiškia. Fuck me.
And I think you probably do too.
I don't think it's misogynistic. I understand why it can be insulting.
You wouldn't say it to a woman's face.
Well, it depends. You're making out like I'm walking around the street going up to random 25-year-olds.
Well, effectively, you're doing it to tens of millions of people online. There's no difference.
Not at all. We're discussing a topic. We were discussing the ideal age of a man.
Should young boys, right, in their teens, are you comfortable that they would have that mindset? Boys, right, in their teens, are you comfortable that they...
Čia, kaip aš jaučiuosi su ex-leveriu kalbėdamas. Nu, tipo, atrodo, tau užduos 100 klausimų, tu atsakysi visus, nesiklauso nieko, misreprezentuoja tave, nežino, ką žodžiai reiškia, ir tik tu galbūt jau randi kažkokio groundo, kad paneigti, ką sako, pakeičia temą. Ir valandą tai prašneki ir niekad nieko neišsiaiškini, čia tiesiog... Yeah, toks jausmas, Jesus fucking Christ, you're actually brain dead.
They would have that mindset. Be honest.
I think that young boys in their teens lack life experience, they lack nuance, and they need to be very, very careful what they're digesting online, whether it's my content or anybody else's.
That is true.
You know for a fact, millions of them are digesting exactly what you're saying.
Completely. The entire internet, to a degree, I think any subject you can find, there's going to be a whole heap of content.
I come back to the Joe Rogan thing, Andrew, is that a lot of what you say, I agree with.
Yeah.
Right? I do, genuinely. I've written a lot of stuff you said. A lot of the stuff you talk about, I think, yeah, he's got a good point, right? So we agree about a lot of things. But when I read that kind of thing, I'm like, how much...
Jo, va tas yra dalykas. Daug labai dalykų, Andrew Tate sako, yra pretty reasonable, logiška ir teisybė. Todėl jis taip ir išpopuliarėjo. Problema yra kai kurie dalykai, kur ant viršaus eina. Kaip visą laiką, kaip sakiau, su visom konspiracijom teorijom, su visom ideologijom. Underlying dalykas yra geras ir logiškas ir gan visiems primtinas. Bet tie ekstra dalykai jau nelabai. Ir vietoj to, kad atakuotų tos ekstra dalykus, ką jisai bando, ką Piersas Morganas čia bando daryti, atakuoti tos ekstra dalykus, kur tipo nesutarė, bet jis taip bočina juos ir taip neteisingus dalykus bent jau kol kas mėgina ir taip nesupranta, kad it's fucking horrible.
How much of that is you? How much of that is some act? Do you regret saying stuff like this? And actually, do you see it as weakness to admit you shouldn't have said something like that?
No, I don't live with regret. I think what's happened is that, like I said, long format content, arguments with feminists, arguments with the toxic masculine crowd, arguments with the left, and they're going to take a small clip, small sentence from ours, and they're going to try and paint me as a villain.
But I'm not left or right.
I don't know what you are, Piers.
Exactly. That's my point. No, but that's my point.
And I understand, and you're doing exactly as I knew would happen on this. Arguments with the toxic masculine crowd, arguments with the left, and they're going to take a small clip, small sentence from ours, and they're going to try and paint me as a villain.
But I'm not left or right.
I don't know what you are, Piers.
Exactly. That's my point. No, but that's my point.
And I understand, and you're doing exactly as I knew would happen on this interview, which is because you're a busy man. You're not going to watch hours and hours and hours of video.
Actually, I have watched.
Aš dabar galvoju, ar ne Piersas Morganas kalbino Ben Shapiro kažkada senai? ir ten Ben Shapiro belenkaip supyko, nes Piersas Morganas jam uždavė klausimus, kurie buvo skirti, kad... Wait. Tuoj sekundę. Jo. Ne. Kuris ir iškvitino, actually. Ne, gal ir ne... Plet. Ben Shapiro quits interview. Ne, Andrew Neil ten buvo. Andrew Neil, ne, aš ją sumaišiau. Jie panašus į Piers Morganą. Look at this shit.
Question to you.
Holy shit, jie tikrai panašus, ne? Ne, bet jo, sumaišiau, nes Andrew Neil tą darė. Kad jisai uždavinėjo klausimus, jis realiai politinių pažiūrų tokių kaip Ben Shapiro iš esmės, bet jis uždavė klausimus savo laidoj, kad, tipo, išprovokuotų atsakymus, nes, paklausė, ką jo opozicija, tipo, mano. O Ben Shapiro pagalvojo, kad čia mane nori tik downinti ir, jisai tom tiki ir ten reiškvitina, ten nesupratimas toks buvo. Aš galvoju, gal čia tas pats, nes tai paaiškintų, kodėl Piersas toks tūpas, blet, atrodo. Bet... Ne, čia kitas žmogus ir aš vis dar nežinau. Nes iš to, kai jis čia pasakė, aš nesu nei left, nei right. Ir kaip pasakė, vat...
You're doing exactly as I knew would happen on this interview, which is...
That's my point. Ir tą aš tikiu, kad nuoširdžiai pasakė, kad tai yra jo pointas.
Because you're a busy man, you're not going to watch hours and hours and hours of video.
Actually, I have watched hours and hours of video, and I'm going to come to the stuff where I agree with you, and I'm going to come to the stuff about your censorship, which I have issues with. So this is, it's a long interview, right?
Sure.
I just thought off the top, you said to me, and you were quite bold about it, well, go on, then let's go through these.
And you should keep going. I will sit here and stand by what I said. I believe that
on that, I just read to you then.
Yeah.
Do you wish you hadn't said that?
I understand how it's been misconstrued. I understand how it's been weaponized against me. Do I regret it because it's been weaponized and used against me? Well, that's slightly annoying.
That's not why I want you to
Did I
regret.
at the time mean what I said in the context of the conversation, which obviously you're not familiar?
Ta prasme, jis gan sharp visą laiką buvo, jis gan greitai gali atsakymus rasti, tipo, ir, pasakyti, ar tu čia iš fit ir sharp. Iš dviejų pusių kalbėjo, iš sharp iš smegenų pusės. Tipo, jis gan aštraus proto.
Familiar with and the people at home are not familiar with.
Gan racionalus ir logiškas žmogus.
25-year-old women that just talk to more guys.
Jo, vat pasaulėžiūra vertybės, okay, tai
teisingai. Been effed and
yeah.
dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up.
Well, there's a whole bunch of context and conversation around that's been missed, and I
don't think I'm missing much context.
Well, I encourage people who are interested to go watch it.
Right, but I mean, I've just read out 3 sentences on the bounce there. I don't think there's any context I'm missing. I mean, you made it pretty...
Blet, jis vėl tą patį argumentą daro. Tipo, žiūrėkit, pasakysiu 3 sakinius, kurie yra visiškai neteisybė. Saulė nedega, ten saulė šalta, žemė plokščia, holokaustas neegzistavo. Dabar Piersas Morganas gali paskaičiau 3 sakinius. Nesvarbu, kad 3, 2 ar 5 ar 10 minučių. Kontekstas yra svarbus, o kontekstas tos, kad aš pasakiau, kad dabar pasakysiu dalykus, kurie yra neteisybė. Tai yra antiek bukas argumentas ir Piersas jau 2 kartą sako, kaip jis to nesupranta. Nesvarbu, kiek tu paėmė, ar 1 sakinį, ar 2, ar 3. Kontekstas gali būti daugiau apimantis arba trumpesnis. God damn, Piersai.
Clear what you think about the difference between 18 and 90-year-old women.
I wasn't talking about myself, even. I was talking with a Muslim guy who was on the panel, and he was explaining how youth is very valued in most parts of the world, and why virginity is valued in most parts of the world. The feminists were arguing against it, and I was sitting there, actually, very much like you, a mediator between the two, explaining why, in most of the world still today, perhaps not in the Western world, virginity is coveted, youth is coveted in most of the world. And
Gerai, čia klausimas. Virginity is coveted ir nekaltumas vertinamas. Ar čia ne tik tuose arabų visose šalyse? I'm not sure. Nes aš nežinau, aš nelabai pažįstu turbūt žmonių, kurie norėtų nekaltos panos. Nenorėtų ir kur 185 000 partnerių turėjo, bet nekaltos irgi. Asia? I'm not sure. Aš nežinau tiksliai. Azijoje tas yra populiaru? Aš nežinau tiksliai. Mano pirmo mintis krypo, ar tai tiesiog Afrikos gentyse. Ok. Gal tada daugiau biški vietų, negu kad aš galvojau.
and throughout all of human history. And I was sitting there making the point, explaining why in certain parts of the world they think how they do.
Well, in large parts of the world,
even though it's very different.
Ten saulė šalta, žemė plokščia, holokaustas neegzistavo. Ten saulė šalta. Bet matai, kareiviai, šitą klipą įdėsiu į streamerio akimirkas. Kaip ir įdėjau, kur apie karą kalbėjau. Ir man net buvo neįtikėtina, kiek žmonių patikėjo. Aš ten, kai pahaustinau tą Killer of Killer Bees, ten buvo čiuvakas, kur, mano nuomonė apie karalių žiauriai pasikeitė, ten nusivyliau. Ir jo paklausė, kodėl? Dėl to klipo. Ir netgi jisai sako, ten oversi sarkazmų, bet matai, tam čiuvakui nedaėjo, jis nesuprato. Tai yra fascinating, negali netrinti, man šią pochą iš tų invalidų protinių atsilikėlių, bet jo neįtikėtina yra, kiek žmonių yra antiek brain dead, kurie tiesiog nesupranta konteksto. Ir Piers Morganas nesupranta, kas yra kontekstas. Jesus, fuck. Ir aš dar kartą pakartosiu, jeigu žiūrit arba kuriat visas tas streamerio akimirkas, jūs man esat žemiau žmonių.
Different to the Western world. So I was making a point mediating between two groups very similar to yourself. The conversation has been misunderstood. They've taken this clip of it and it's being weaponized and used against me. I understand that it's because I'm now the most famous Google person on the planet. It's inconvenient, sure. But I'm definitely not a danger to women in any regard. I date women 25, 26, 27 years old all the time. None of them are offended by the things I
don't think you're a danger to women.
I
think the danger, if it concerns you, the danger is the influence you have on young men to have this kind of mindset about women. And that's really where I'm trying to get to what you really believe and how much you've just shot off because you think it's like entertaining and you haven't really...
Bet realiai, karjerai, čia iš tikrųjų dabar pagalvojus, net tą klipą padarė, arba ten, tipo, mane žiūri, nežinau, ten 5000 gal žmonių į mėnesį. Tipo, mano publika nėra labai didelė, tipo, bet įsivaizduokit, žiūri 5 milijonų arba 5 milijonų, ten kaip Andrew Tate kokį. Ir tada 5% paimtų tą klipą ir jie advokatuotų, kad aš esu prorusiškas grinai, nes jie tą klipą nesuprato. Arba šitą nesupras dabar, kad čia, kontekstas, sarkazmas. Ir tas yra tikrai problema, nes žmonės yra retardai ir Andrew Tate realiai, gal nebūtinai už tai gavo, bet tai irgi prisidėjo, tikrai labas treneri, tikrai irgi prisidėjo, kad jo tos klipus vatimą. Aišku, aš nežinau jo skaičių, žinai, bet jis absurdiškai populiarus. Bet, tipo, esmė tokia, kad, tu gali bet ką iškirpt ir žmonės visam pasaulyje yra exceptionally stupid iš esmės. Tai, kad jie nesupras, ką Andrew Tate sako ar panašiai jo. Bet nereikia pamiršti, kad Andrew Tate yra pasakęs labai tupų dalykų irgi. Ir gal net dalykus, kur netūpi ir logiškai, jis pasakė tokia forma, kad būtent dar ir pritrauktus, kaip tik užkabintų ir, toks kaip clickbaitas veiktų. Tai jis kaip ir pats techniškai kaltas, kad tokius klipus darė. Kaip ir aš kaltas, kad čia tą pavyzdį padariau. Nes aš duodamas tą pavyzdį, kad žiūrėkit, pasakysiu 3 dalykus, kurie neteisybė ir tada, norėdamas iliustruoti konteksto svarbą, aš pasirinkau tokią situaciją sukurti, kurią galėsiu išklipinti. Jeigu tu prieš 10 metų, jeigu aš būčiau, pavyzdžiui, prieš 10 metų daręs, nežinant, kas tas internetas, ar kaip jis veiks, ar kad taip išaugs, ar panašiai, aš galbūt biškai kitaip rinkčiaus. Ir, ten, ar tą klipą ištrinčiau. Bet Andrew Tate kaip tik specialiai tos dalykus sakė taip, kaip sakė, kad juos klipintų ir jis iš to populiarumą išaugino. Tai čia taip ir gavos. Norėtus, kad žmonės nebūtų tokie retardai, bet žmonės yra tokie retardai. Ir jie patikės belenkom, belenkaip, kom nori ir tada jį nukancelino. Nes jis tiesiog turėjo pakankamai žmonių, kurie patikėjo netgi nieko blogai sakomais dalykais, kurie buvo išimti be konteksto. Bet vėlgi, jisai sakė ir tupus dalykus. Bet kaip bebūtų, nei viena priežastis nėra tinkama, kad banint žmogų. Ok. Galima toliau žiūrėti, manau, mes visi suprantam, kas yra kontekstas ir kodėl jis svarbus. Nežinau, ar visi supranta, nes vėlgi, mano šitą ateinu ir žmonės sako, kad Karalius prorusiškas yra iš to klipo. Tai nežinau, ar visi supranta. Čia yra daugiau žiūrovų negu vien tik tie, kur mane ištisai žiūri, tai gal ir nesupranta. Gerai. Bet jo, aš pasirinksiu, kada žiūrėsim toliau. Jeigu nori pažiūrėti video, žiūrėk video. Čia atėjai paklausyti mano tragiškai pasikartojančių rantų. Gerai, sorry, žiūrim toliau, actually.
Given it much thought. And whether now you're a bit older and you've had all the fallout, whether part of you is thinking, actually, if I had, as Joe Rogan says, if you hadn't said stuff like this, you'd probably still be on all these platforms. You'd be massively more popular, massively more famous, massively richer. So I'm really just trying to get to, On the blatantly misogynist stuff, do you just wish you hadn't said it?
With great power comes great responsibility. It was certainly said before the great power came.
Spider-Man.
It's inconvenient to a degree. However, like I said at the time, with the context of the conversation, I know that I'm not saying things which I believe to be detrimental to the world. However, they've been misconstrued and they've been misunderstood.
If a 25-year-old woman was watching this, would you say, I'm sorry for saying that?
Well, I wouldn't want anyone to be offended by anything I say. But I say things that offend. And this is the thing that's interesting, Piers. Please let me finish.
You're behaving like a politician. But hang on. You can say I'm interrupting.
You do.
But you're answering a different question to the one I asked you. So, as an interview...
Ir čia yra fundamental dalykas. Jie atrodo nesusišneka. Vienas neduoda atsakyti ir interruptina dėl to, kad galvoja, kad ne jo klausimą atsako, bet jisai nesupranta iš esmės pozicijas ir čia jau tęsiasi visą laiką.
Sure.
Okay, you accept that. Let's accept we both got on. Okay. So, again, my point is simply, if a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has heard those comments, would you just say to her, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that?
No, I won't. I will say that I am sorry that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world...
That doesn't mean you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
Parts of the world that believe that about 26-year-old women are parts of the world where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a conversation.
They have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation.
They're not allowed to drive cars.
That's nothing to do with me.
But is that the kind of world for women that you...
I was mediating a conversation.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
Čia realiai geras argumentas būtų. Jeigu jie kalbėtų su Andrew Tate ne apie misoginį ar kažką, žiūrėk, tu sakai, kad virginity vertinama. Kuriuose šalyse vertiname? Iš kurių šalių tu ėmiesi tą tokį kaip pavyzdį? Ar tai tikrai yra šalis, kurios mums turėtų būti autoritetas? Ir čia būtų valid tema pasigilinti tą pasaulėžiūrą. Nes pasaulėžiūra Andrew Tate nėra labai gera. Kaip minėjau, beveik nieks negali gyventi tokio gyvenimo ir ta pasaulėžiūra, jis turi teisę gyventi kokį gyvenimą, kokį nori ir žiūrėti gyvenimą kaip nori, bet yra turbūt geresnių pasirinkimų ir geresnių patarimų didžiai daliai žmonių. Ir va čia Piersas Morganas tikrai galėtų atakuoti šitą temą ir čia pasigilinti tą temą. Kas yra tavo kompanijai? Čia tipo, kaip, pavyzdžiui, turi draugai, žinai, tavo, vien tik rasistai. Tipo, ar tai yra gera kompanija? Gal tu ir nesi rasistas, bet tavo kompanija nėra labai gera, tai aš nežinau, ar čia viskas gerai. Kaip aš žinau, kad, pavyzdžiui, ten aš bendrauju su vienu žmogum, pavyzdžiui, ir paskui mes su juo susipykstam ir mes su juo nebebendraujam. Ir aš visą laiką pagalvosiu, gal aš kažką blogai padariau, gal jis kažką, bet tada, jeigu aš, pavyzdžiui, su to žmogum nebebendrauju ir mes išsiskiriam ir abudu sako, kad kitas kažką darė blogai. Pavyzdžiui, aš labai nenoriu vardų sakyti, bet gerai, pavyzdžiui, turėjau draugę, jin pradeda streaminti ir tada mes susipykstam, nes, dėl, tarkim, kokio nesutarimo, kas leidžia stumimus čate. Ir jinai mane kaltina dėl to, ir tarsi aš ją, ir kas išsiaiškintų, kas yra teisus iš tikro tuo atveju. Ir dabar praėjus laiko, aš žinau, kas yra arti to žmogaus, kas yra draugai to žmogaus, kas pastovi jo streamą žiūri ir kas yra, to žmogaus ratas. Ir dabar jeigu aš kažkur ateinu į streamą, ant manęs tas ratas pradeda varyti. Ne tas žmogus, su kuriuo susipykau, bet tas ratas aplinkui. Ir tas žmogus, tas mano buvus draugė, nieko jiem nesako ir toliau su jais bendrauja. Tuo tarpu, iš mano rato, nei vienas žmogus niekad nėra gyvenime nieko pasakęs ant to žmogaus, tipo, kad užstumtų. Tai vat šitoj vietoj labai yra aišku man bent jau, kad gerai, aš vis dėlto buvau teisus ir tu iš tikro, kadangi aplinkui tave žmonės, kurie taip daro, tau realiai tas nėra vertybė. Čia labai durnai gal paaiškinau, bet labai mėginu apibrėžti. Jeigu Andrew Tate pritaikė tą argumentą, kuri pasaulėžiūra geresnė, jeigu reiktų lyginti ar gilintis, kurios vertybės yra gal geresnės ar optimalesnės, tarkim. Ar tikrai tavo bus optimalios, jeigu tavo pusėje yra žmonės, kurie verčia moteris teisų neturėti, vairuoti neleidžia, į kiną eiti neleidžia, burkas verčia nešioti ir panašiai? Ar tikrai tai yra company you want to keep? Jo, čia būtų neblogas argumentas, jeigu reiktų palyginti pasaulėžiūras, tipo.
I don't live in a country where that happens.
You're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for saying it.
It's not an
Is that there are
excuse.
parts of the world where this is fine.
My friend.
So my question to you is, well, do you think it's fine?
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where
You don't think it's fine?
the reason
This
I'm
isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what?
Čia jau ridiculous, čia actually net žodžio neduoda pasakyti.
With the benefit of hindsight, I wish I hadn't said it like that. And if a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually is blatantly misogynist. And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share. Now, I would respect you more if you said that than if you try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think
That doesn't tell me what you think.
Then you need to understand why my content existed in the first place.
Okay.
My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable
Is that a truth, then?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about. It's not a truth I created.
Hang on. You're doing it again. What do you mean that's a truth in other parts of the world? That's what you said. It's not, you're not talking about another part of the world. You're talking about what you believe is the difference between 18 and 90-year-olds and 26-year-olds.
I was talking about
It's your belief.
I was talking about what the people on the panel believe the difference is.
So what do you think the difference is?
I think the difference is age.
What's the difference then?
Well, then a 26-year-old's older than a 19-year-old.
And so you stand by what you said about talking to the guys, being to the club more times, being effed and dumped more times.
Sorry.
Well,
you believe that or not?
No, there's plenty of 26-year-old women who have been with one man or virgins,
Right.
of course.
So you don't believe that?
I don't think that the age is the only thing that's going to decipher how many men a woman's
Right, so if
been
you
with.
don't actually believe what you said, just say sorry.
It's not about not believing what I'm saying. It's about you understanding that there's large conversations going on.
I'm
in
just
this
reading
context.
back stuff you've said.
I know
and
you
I'm
are.
asking you, do you believe it?
Pala, Piersas Morganas nėra žurnalistas, ne? Jisai panditas, vedėjas, tai jis nėra žurnalistas, tai, nu, čia paparacis labiau, tai...
I believe that it's more likely a 26-year-old's had more partners than a 19-year-old.
Right. You don't know that.
I don't know that. You're right.
In fact, they could be...
Wait.
You've said,
I know
and
you
I'm
are.
asking you, do you believe it?
I believe that it's more likely a 26-year-old's had more partners than a 19-year-old.
Right. You don't know that.
I don't know that. You're right.
It's more likely, statistiškai. Jo, plėt. Ar jisai dabar darys patį tupiausią argumentą pasaulyje, nežinodamas, ką reiškia žodis dauguma? Ar jisai nepritarė, kad tikrai dauguma 18-mečių turės mažiau partnerių negu 25-metis? Ar jis tam nepritarė, jis nežino, ką reiškia žodis dauguma? What the fuck is happening? Jo, nieks nesako, nu... Kas Piersui Morganui čia nepatiko?
Conversations going on
I'm
in
just
this
reading
context.
back stuff you've said,
I know
and I'm
you are.
asking you, do you believe it?
Ai,
I
žurnalistas
believe
yra,
that it's
okay.
more likely a 26-year-old's had more partners than a 19-year-old.
Right. You don't know that.
I don't know that. You're right.
In fact, there could be absolutely no evidence for that whatsoever.
Completely agree.
So why say it? Why stigmatise all 26-year-old women?
It's not about, we're repeating ourselves here.
Well, not really. I'm just trying to get to what you
But there
actually
is
believe.
evidence.
I believe
tam.
that men find youth attractive in general.
Logiška.
I believe that in the context of the conversation,
25-year-old women aren't old.
I agree with you. They're not, especially I'm old. I'm a lot older.
Pasakymas, kad 25 metų moteris more likely turėjo daugiau santykių negu 18 metė. Kol mes neturim tam duomenų ar įrodymų, kad teikti, kad more likely, o gal ir turim, nežinau, bet tai net logiškai sektų. Kuo ilgiau gyvensi, tuo didesnė bus tikimybė, kad tu turėsi daugiau partnerių. Tiesiog loginė seka tokia. Čia net nebūtinai įrodymų reikia, tu gali tą sakyti, nes it logically follows. Gali būti, jo, individualių pavyzdžių gali būti bet kokių, čia jie nieko nereiškia, nes kalbam statistiškai. Kuris žmogus labiau linkęs bus patekti į avariją, tas, kur vairuoja metus ar 20 metų. Tas, kuris ilgesnį laiką vairuoja, turės statistiškai didesnį šansą. Jo, more likely, kad jisai, jo, tai čia net nereikia įrodymų, čia yra logiškas teiginys. Aš nelabai... Ir tai, kad Andrew Tate net nepasakė, pala, čia, ar tu ginčias logiką, ar tu nepritari tam? Wait.
Than that. The point I was making was part of mediating a panel, a conversation between feminists and some Muslim guys.
I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
good.
But
So you understand why I said the sentence.
But as far as I know, you weren't espousing what a Muslim man might think. You were espousing what you think.
I was espousing what the people on the panel believed.
But you were saying what you think.
I feel like you're trying to pin me down.
If it's not what you believe, just say, I don't believe that.
What part wouldn't I believe?
Well, you tell me which part you don't believe. There's the sentence. Which part would you now say you don't believe?
Čia
I
Andrew
believe
Tate
that
vardas.
25-year-old women perhaps have had, because they've been alive longer, maybe have had more partners.
Yeah,
but I don't
tas
believe that makes them a
argumentas.
bad person.
Right. But you understand that the way you phrased it makes every 25-year-old
I
woman
understand.
feel a bad person.
No, I don't think so.
Of course you do. You're not stupid, Come on.
Piers,
Andrew, you're not stupid. You know what that sounds like to any 25, 26-year-old woman.
completely. And you're
Right? So you have maligned every 25, 26-year-old woman with that statement. And I'm simply asking you, to all those who are not of the type of women that you've described here, are you sorry?
I don't want anybody to be offended by anything I say. I want to be a positive force in the world. I don't want anybody to hear what I say and make them feel bad about themselves. I want all people to live righteous and good, whether they're male or female. And anybody who's
You lead a
offended-
righteous life?
I think I do, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
You boasted openly of having 6, 7 partners at once. So is that righteous? I'm not taking there's no moral view from me. Simply asking you what you think righteous means.
I think righteous is living true to your heart and knowing that you're doing good by people, not snaking anybody, not lying to anybody. I know I live a very righteous life.
Have you ever been in
Širdis
love?
gali taip galvoti. Taip.
How many times?
Plenty. I believe in love between men and women.
A
I think-
real love, you know, where it's...
Yeah. I believe
How many times have you
Real
said-
love,
I-
o Jezu.
enough.
Ką tai
I believe
reiškia?
men and
Tipo,
women are a beautiful
skirtingiems
union.
žmonėms
I think we're
skirtingą
slightly
dalyką
different, but when
reikš.
we work together, we're the most powerful
Righteous
force in the
irgi.
world.
How many women have you loved?
I don't know, Piers. A few.
Give me a ballpark. 5, 10, 20?
Let's say
You don't forget how many people you've been in love with. Come
Let's
on.
say 10. I mean, I've been in love, and I certainly believe that men and women, when they work together, it's the most beautiful force on the planet. I believe in family. I believe in children. I believe in...
If you believe in family and children and love,
Yeah.
why are you single?
I'm not single.
Well, you're not married. That's what I mean.
Well, if I was married, the last thing I would do is advertise it to the feral psychopaths on the internet. So,
I'm not a feral psychopath.
well, that
You
can
called me
be-
friend earlier.
can be debated, Piers. But the point I'm making as a whole is that all of these...
Do you want to get married is my point.
Gerai,
No,
kad
but
bent
let's-
jau šitą
the point-
Piersas
but the point I'm
priėmė
making-
su humoru,
You call me
pasijuokė
friend,
pats.
can be debated, Piers. But the point I'm making as a whole is that all of these...
Do you want to get married? is my point.
Nežinau. Aš jau pažiūrėjau 3-2 minutės šito interviu ir aš vis dar negaliu pasakyti, ar Piers Morganas čia actually trolina, ar jis actually yra tupas. Nes, I don't know, taip kaip jis reaguoja tam tikrus dalykus. Pavyzdžiui, pasijuokė iš šito jokelio. Nesupyko. Nes jeigu tu labai nekestum Andrew Tate, kažin ar tu jo jokelį tai priimtum, kuris pasakė, kad aš nesu left ir right ir that's exactly my point, kaip jis nuoširdžiai tą pasakė, kai jisai pasakė, kad tikrai su daug ko pritarė su Andrew Tate, bet mėgina prisikabinimą būtent prie tų garsiausių jo klipų. Vat man vis tiek yra dalis manęs galvoja, kad čia Pierso Morgano yra mėginimas jog padaryti viral laidą, o ne tipo kažkokį labai nuoširdų pokalbį, kur ten rimtą pokalbį ir panašiai. Su rimtais argumentais, nes, blėt, jo argumentai yra tokie dog shit čia buvo. Aš nežinau, arba jis tikrai tupas. Aš negaliu pasakyti, aš nežinau.
No, but let's please for a
You
second.
don't or you do?
Let's please for a second, because you've interrupted me so many times, I've failed to...
Well, actually, I've only
full answer.
interrupted you, just to be clear, when you've actually answered a different question.
Cool. Well, then, on all these points you're
And you've
making...
admitted that.
Tau
On all these
atrodo,
points
tai-
you're making, on repeat, you're taking these sentences and on repeat you're using you're weaponizing them against me.
I'm
I
not
understand.
weaponizing anything.
Okay, it's fine.
No.
The
You're
point-
weaponizing the weaponizing, which
No
doesn't
problem.
exist.
No problem. But
You
the-
said to me, come on, bring it on, read out all the things that you think are blatant misogyny. All I've done is literally read out all the things
Oh,
we
God.
identified from all the research that I thought were blatantly misogynist and
Understood.
given you the chance to respond. And the only time I've interrupted you is when you've tried to answer a...
Aš prisiekiu, aš norėčiau Andrew Tate padūchinti už jo nesąmonės pasakytas, bet jam neduoda net pasakyti tų nesąmonių. Piersas Morganas neduoda jam pasakyti nesąmonių, kurias galėčiau kritikuoti. Tiesiog nutraukia iš karto, tik pradeda kalbėti. Jesus, fuck. Ir taip gaunas, kad čia tik Piersą Morganą kritikuoju, nes tik jisai ir šneka čia. Jeigu jie abudu šnekėtų, aš kritikuočiau abudu po lygiai. Nu, gal, nežinau, žinau, apie ką šnekėtų. Bet kadangi tik Morganas čia šneka,
completely different question.
Understood, Piers.
fuck.
But these things were said in large context where often I'm talking about how, for example, on the same podcast where you've read one of them sentences from, I was talking about how it's a man's duty to die by a woman. And the guy asked me, he said, if 10 men with knives attacked your woman, wouldn't you just... I said, yeah, I'd stand and die. I'd never just run away because I have a duty as a man. I must die on the spot to protect her honor and my honor. I'm talking about a man having responsibility to his duties. I'm talking about the old traditional ways of masculinity. And what happens is a few sentences from such a long conversation is taken and used against me.
I understand that.
So I want you to understand that I'm talking about protecting and providing for women. I'm talking about a man making
Do you
sure
want to
a
get
woman...
married?
No, but we have to all feed into each other, Piers. I'm talking about
It's not a hard question.
No, but I'm talking about protecting and providing for a woman. I'm talking about a man being responsible for her safety.
I understand.
So of course I believe in men and women. Of course I believe in love. Of course I believe in marriage. Of course I believe in family.
No, but none
the
of that was
idea
my
that I
question.
don't believe in the idea that I don't believe in these things
I
is
didn't
crazy.
ask you if you believed in it. I asked you if you're going to get married.
One day, absolutely.
You'd like to.
If I'm not married already, I will be married one day. If I'm not,
Well, you might be secretly married.
I could be married, correct.
Why would you not tell me either way?
Why would I
paaiškinu
advertise
jau.
to the feral psychopaths of the world who have tried their very best to destroy me for an opinion about my private life and the things that are most sacred to me? Why
Well, you
would
think
I do
if
that?
you said you were married, everyone would hate you?
I don't know why people hate me. It's about me understanding that I'm a hard target, but I am very, very protective of the people I care about.
Right. But you believe in the concept of marriage.
Completely. That's what we were talking about the whole time.
What do you think? I
We
mean-
talked about a man giving a woman away. I believe in marriage more than anybody. In
here's
fact,
my-
I believe in marriage in, no, please. I
Okay.
believe in marriage in the traditional sense. I believe a man has a duty to stand up and be a real man. I believe that the problem with the world today that we are facing is that not enough men are sticking to the age-old ways of masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that me standing up and saying a man must protect a woman and provide for her, so he needs to make sure that she's safe. He needs a degree of authority to
I have
protect
no
her.
problem with-
But people do have a problem with it.
I'm not- sorry,
and that's the world we're in now.
Andrew, I'm over here.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with what you just said. Here's where my problem comes, right? There are a lot of clips of you floating around on the internet, as you know. One of them has you saying, bang out the machete, boom in her face, grip her by the neck, shut up, bitch. Another you say,
God,
slap,
ten
slap,
te
grab,
klipy.
choke, shut up, bitch, sex.
Good.
When people see those clips and hear you say
misunderstand
those
them.
things...
Agreed.
Well, I don't think that... It's not hard to misunderstand it.
It is.
You might say that it's consensual. Other people would say, whether it's consensual or not, that's a very ugly way to talk about women.
Completely. Now let's
Hitting
watch...
them with machetes.
No, watch the whole video. It's a girl coming at me with a machete and me saying, here, slap the machete out of her hand.
I
She's
understand.
attacking me.
I
So you don't
understand.
understand. This is the exact point.
do understand.
No, people don't watch them in full. And this is actually what's interesting. And please don't interrupt me on this point. Social media has changed in modern times. YouTube 5 years ago was 5, 6, 7, 8 minute long videos. Now we have TikTok, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, YouTube shorts, Instagram stories. Now anything you produce that's long form is cut down to very, very short form. They're interested in clicks, they're interested in engagement.
Of course.
They find
But
the
you
most
benefited from all
they
that.
find the most controversial clips they can
And Andrew,
on purpose.
you benefited
Čia dabar jau, man atrodo, Andrew Tate nebesupranta, kame problema. Piersas Morganas gan gerai, nežinau ar gan gerai, bet jis paaiškino, kad aš suprantu, ką tu sakai. Pierso Morgano argumentas čia yra, kad tu renkiesi tuos sakinius sakyti taip, kaip jie skamba, tam kontekste, žinoma, bet tu renkiesi juos sakyti taip, kad tuos klipus taip karpytų ir tu iš to uždirbtum. Ir čia yra tipo problema. Nes tu galėtum tą pačią žinutę pasakyti biškai kitaip, bet tu žinai, kad tu negautum tiek dėmesio, negu kad pasakytum pačią labiausiai, koks žodis, kur aš ieškau, kur labai perdėtai pasakai, fuck. Nežinau, hiperbolizuoti, jo, dėkui. Kai tu panaudoji, kuo labiau hiperbolizuoji tą poziciją, tai tam ir darai, kad užsidirbti, jo, hiperbolė, taip. Hyperbolic. O Andrew Tate, jis vis dar užstrigęs, kad mano iškarpa be konteksto. Jis gal nesupranta šito argumento, ką Piersas Morganas bando pasakyti.
from all that.
Everybody benefits from social media views, as do you.
Your-
but-
was it The Hustler?
That's true.
What is it
I had
called?
an online school,
Called?
Hustlers University.
Right. And their whole job was to promote your clips, make you rich and famous. So you've benefited from this system, the one you now profess to hate. You've benefited from
I
all
never
that.
said I hated
You've
it.
clickbaited like the best of them.
I never said I hated it. I'm saying what happened. I don't hate it. I don't hate social media. I think it's a very powerful force. I don't hate the social media. I'm saying
The point
that.
is, I think you can talk, look, you can talk to girlfriends of yours, maybe a secret wife, I don't know.
Kas mane biškai pykdo, kai Piersas Morganas pasako, ko Andrew Tate niekad nesakė, ir Andrew Tate paaiškina, Piersas Morganas niekad nepasakė, okei, nereikėjo man taip sakyti, pavyzdžiui, aišku, jis taip nepasakys. Nes jo dabar sako, tu taigi pasakai, kad nekenti social medijos, jis niekad taip nepasakė. Ir mes tarsi pamirštam, kad Piersas Morganas tik sukūrė faktą apie Andrew Tate. Net ne faktą, o sukūrė Andrew Tate teiginį. Ir netgi prieš tai buvo pradžioj, kur Piersas Morganas sakė ten, nesimenu dabar tiksliai, ten 2 kartus net buvo, kur pasako, tu taip sakei. Pala, tas pasako, ne, aš taip niekad nesakiau. ir Piersas Morganas niekada neatsiema to. Man tas nepatinka, kai žmonės sukuria už tave tavo teiginį. Ir paskui tu paaiškini, ne, pala, aš taip negalvoju, aš taip nesakiau, niekada to nebuvo. Ir mes galim rasti įrodymų, jeigu aš kažkur taip sakiau. Bet tas originalus žmogus, nu, tai yra, tas, kur pasakė tą, sukūrė, jis nepripažįsta to, kad sukūrė. Ir taip atrodo publika, aš nežinau, kaip publika reaguoja, kai tą girdi. Man tai tas nepatinka, kai sukuria random dalykus, kurių, pavyzdžiui, aš niekada nesakiau, tiesiog sukuria, kad tarsi aš sakiau. Jo, I don't know, it's fucking weird.
Entirely up
Or
to you.
two.
Or two. Maybe you've got 10 wives, that's your business. I don't care, right? My only thing is, I don't care what you do in private. If it's consensual between you and another woman, you can do what you like, right? It's your life. I believe in freedom and liberty. It's when you say it in public, it's the influence that this kind of thing has on young men.
Agreed.
Right? And I speak to someone with 3 sons, right?
Yeah, but this
by
guy
the way, they're intrigued by you. They're fascinated, right? You're a big thing in that world of TikTok and so on. So they all are aware of you and what you say. So they're all looking. And when they see things like the machete thing, I get the context because I'm a 57-year-old guy who's been around the block a bit, and I can get what you've said, and you responding to a particular scenario which you'd created where a woman...
But it can be misunderstood.
I understand. So my point to you is, given that you know
Andrew
it can
Tate,
be misunderstood, do you regret saying things like this on camera where it can be disseminated by less intelligent young males who think that is actually what they should be doing to women?
And finally, we get to the point of the issue, which is the point I tried to make at the very beginning. When I made a video before I was famous that got 500 views, me being concerned that 1% of people will misunderstand it was not relevant. You start getting 5 million views a video, 50 million views a video, 1% of people misunderstand.
Kaip ir suprato, bet ne į tą pusę nuėjo. Tikrasis klausimas yra, ar Andrew Tate actually turėtų būti atsakingas už žmonės, kurie netaip supras jo žinutę. Jisai turi teisę tos clickbaitinant sakinius sakyti. Čia, ar už tai Andrew Tate reikia baninti? Va čia yra klausimas. Čia yra actually klausimas. Tu gali sakyti savo nuomonę, tu gali hiperbolizuoti, that's fine, bet ar už tai tave reiktų baninti? Ir va čia yra argumentas, kur Andrew Tate turėtų turėti, nu, ir jie net pritarė, kad nereikia baninti. Tame esmė.
It doesn't change what
No, it doesn't, but it becomes a much larger problem. So with great fame comes great responsibility.
Right.
So
I agree.
Now that I'm famous, do I say things the same way as I did back before I was famous? Absolutely not.
Right.
As neither would you or nearly any other famous person on the planet.
So
Netgi dabar mato šitam interviu jau, kaip Andrew Tate daug rimčiau žodžius renka ir skamba labiau coherent, nebe hiperbolizuoja, tipo, jo, tas tikrai matosi ir it makes sense. Bet problema yra ta, kai jis dabar jau baną gavęs. O banai, vat, yra šūdnas dalykas dėl tų visų.
Once you become famous, you have to be a lot more careful with how you say things.
I understand. So my logical follow-up to that remains, do you regret then saying it the way you said it?
I can't live in regret by saying something before I was famous on a camera which barely anybody watched, and then I became famous afterwards. That would be a very asinine way to view the world.
Do you stand by all those things?
I can't live in regret because I didn't know I was going to become the most famous man on the planet. That regret would be the wrong word. Is it inconvenient? Sure. But I can't sit here and say, I wish I knew 6 years ago I'd be the most famous man on the planet and monitored all of my speech forever. That's asinine.
You see, but one of the problems that people have with you is that they think you have a malevolent influence on young people. This was the excuse that was put out by the...
Ir jie gali taip galvoti.
Excuse being the key word.
Jo, ir jie gali taip galvoti. Visi turi teisę taip galvoti, kad Andrew Tate žinutė yra labai kenksminga ir bloga ir evil. Turi teisę taip galvoti. Ta klausimas yra, kaip išspręsti tą problemą. Nes užbanant žmogų, tu neišsprendai problemos. And that's the whole argument, the whole point, kodėl aš esu prieš tą užbanimą tiesiog. Reikia atsakyti ir žinutę kartuoti, kad ir 100 kartų ir 1000 kartų. Kad žmogus, kuris išgirsta, ir aš pakartosiu dar kartą, kad žmogus, kuris išgirdo Andrew Tate pasaulėžiūrų teoriją, išgirstų ir atsaką į jo, ir geresnį galbūt variantą. Kai tu užbanai Andrew Tate, žinutės niekur nepanaikinai. Tie žmonės, kurie jį išgirdo, jie toliau turi tą žinutę. Bet jie ko neturi, tai atsako jam. Atsako tą žinutę. Jie turi tik vieną variantą, svarstyklės dabar yra pakrypusios į vieną pusę. Ir tame nėra balanso, jūs žinot mane, aš esu labai už balansą.
Well, it may be, actually. You know, intrinsically, I have a problem with censorship. I don't think Donald Trump should be banned from Twitter, for example, because the Ayatollah of Iran remains on Twitter and other social media platforms. And whatever I think of you, you're not the Ayatollah of Iran, right? So to me, there's got to be perspective here. And I don't understand the inconsistency by what companies like Twitter, how they treat the leader of Iran and someone like you. It seems to me they're much more draconian on people like you than they are with people who perhaps should not be allowed platforms. But generally, I don't really agree with no platforming people. But I think what's interesting talking to you is it seems to me like you have gone on a bit of a journey of self-awareness about the impact of some of the stuff you said in the past. And you have said you wouldn't say it again in the same way. Now, you may not want to express regret for that, but it shows me that at the very least, you have evolved to somebody who recognizes that these can be quite damaging in the way that you said them.
Completely. As a professional and as an adult, it would be stupid for me to sit here and say that now that I'm the most famous man on the planet, my words do not have more impact than they did before. With impact, with power comes responsibility, and things need to be worded in a very careful way. Now, when I do a long format interview, I have to sit there and consciously understand that any 10 seconds of that can be cut and used against me. So I have to be a lot more careful with how I say my words and how I construct my sentences. Of course, we agree with all of that. That's exactly what's happened to me. I agree with all of that. I don't want to be seen as a negative influence in the world. I know that there's a whole bunch of men. I get thousands of emails a week from men whose lives I've saved. I get thousands of emails a week from men who are on the verge of suicide and I've saved their lives. We're talking about...
And by the way, I don't dispute that at all. You have almost certainly, I would think, from everything I've read about you, I think you have certainly been probably able to be very helpful to young men who have really struggled for self-confidence and all that kind of thing.
Tai labiau indikatorius, kiek vyrų, ypač Amerikoje jaunesnių, yra tragiškoj pozicijai. Ir čia yra actually problema. Vis tie judėjimai, moterų empowermentas ir vyrų trypimas su žemėm, ten pasireiškia, iš tikrųjų, problematiškai. Todėl ir yra, bet koks žmogus, kuris pasisako kažką į vyrų pusę, Petersonas, Andrew Tate'as, kur tipo, chill, seniai, viskas bus gerai. Jie jau gelbė gyvybės nuo nusižudimo žmonių, vyrų tai yra. Tai čia labiau iliustruoja ne jų žinutės stiprumą, o ant kiek yra tragiška situacija su vyrų mental health, bet tas yra fucking scary iš tikrųjų.
I'm completely prepared to accept that. But there was also, I think, quite a disturbing piece that BuzzFeed did. And it talked about the negative impact of young, impressionable male minds when they've read or seen some of the more inflammatory things you've said. And they quoted, for example, Sandy, 22, from Washington. My father's gone from a man who minored in women's studies in college, who was kind and in touch with his emotions, treated all people, men and women around him, with kindness, to a man who says that whenever he sees an effeminate male stranger, he gets an overwhelming urge to murder them. He loves podcasts. He listens to a lot of podcasts. I know he's listened to Andrew Tate.
Whoa. Let's stop for a second. Let's be professional here, Piers, because you're a professional, as am I. First, she said, did you say that my father went? She said, my father has gone.
Her father.
That's a full-grown man, firstly. So we're talking about my impact on children. You just talked about a full-grown man. Secondly, I've never talked about murdering effeminate men in anything online ever, in any context ever. So I don't know why they have taken some random person I've never met in the world who's full-grown, an adult, and come to their own conclusions who I've never met and lumped his name in with mine. That is absolutely unfair on every level. I didn't read this BuzzFeed. I didn't read this BuzzFeed article, but after hearing the first point, I know it's trash. That is complete garbage. I'm the reason this man believes what he believes.
I've seen a quote from you, and you can tell me what you feel here about this.
Sure.
You talk about people don't want to see men dressed up in dresses. Transgender.
That's not exactly what I said.
What did you say?
I said the reason I am so popular and I'm so famous is that there's a large contingent of men who don't want to wear makeup, who still want to make money, go to the gym, be strong, drive a fast car, be traditionally masculine, and don't want to be shamed for that, and they don't want to be called toxic for that. That is the reason I'm so massively famous. That is what I said.
What do you think of transgender people?
That's nothing to do with me. I'm not transgender, and I don't understand the issue like they do.
Are you transphobic? Do you consider yourself that?
No.
Transphobic? What? Afraid?
Well, it kind of, yeah. You have
I don't live in fear, my friend. I have no...
Labai mažai žmonių pasaulyje yra actually transphobic. Ten gal tam tikrose šalyse bus, bet tipo Amerikoje ir panašiai. Man atrodo, Europoje labai mažai žmonių actually yra transphobic. Didžiai daugumai žmonių tiesiog nerūpi. Jie gyvena savo gyvenimus, jiems nerūpi, kaip kiti gyvena. Bet kai Amerikos aktyvistai žodį transphobic padarė, kad literally bet kas nors biškai kvestionuoja kažką iš tavo judėjimo, tai tada 99% pasaulio pagal tokį apibrėžimą bus transfobik. Tai aš nemanau, kad Andrew Tate transfobik, bent jau negirdėjau, kai jis kažką būtent apie trans žmonės kalbėtų. Tai nėra jo, tai nesusijęs su jo messaginimu, man atrodo, jis apie tą iš viso gal net nėra šnekėjęs.
Do you have a dislike of transgender people?
I don't know any transgender people.
Do you have a dislike of what they stand for, what they are?
No, why would I?
I don't know.
That's not my issue. That's not my issue. And that's actually quite interesting because when I was attacked, a lot of these stupid articles like BuzzFeed, because it's ridiculous, that first point proves anyone with a brain knows that that's garbage. When they attacked me, they lump a whole bunch of things in together. They say misogynistic, racist, transphobic. They just put them all together at random. I'm mixed race.
By the way,
I don't know where they get these. They just get these buzzwords and put them in a sentence.
By the way, I completely agree.
It's crazy.
And I've had the same thing done to me.
Okay,
and I'm not calling you anything. I'm asking you what you personally believe you are.
It's not an issue I discuss. What I do...
Gal jau Andrew Tate iš tikro čia jau biškai frustrated ir jaučiasi kaip puolamas iš tikro. Nes Piers Morganas dabar actually jį ramina, kad seni, aš tavęs klausiu klausimus, atsakyk, kad čia gali būti, kad Andrew Tate, po valandos, 3 minučių tokio pokalbio, gali būti, kad tu jau priimsi viską kaip polimą.
Discuss is
so you support transgender people?
I support individual liberty. I'm a libertarian.
Yeah, so you support transgender people?
Sure. Why not?
Exactly, yeah.
So, but my point is, as a whole, you're saying that I'm saying I don't want to see men in dresses. I'm saying no.
You support gay people?
Sure. Yeah. I'm saying there's a large contingent of men in the world who like the idea of the traditional masculine view of the world, who feel happy when they watch 80s action heroes with big muscles and they run around. And there's nothing toxically masculine about having a fast car and a beautiful girlfriend and making a bunch of money. And
nothing at all.
Absolutely. And those are the people who are my fans.
But the problem is, okay, I'm going to interrupt you just to say this. No.
Okay, but you're saying that I have a problem with men in dresses. I'm saying no. The people who watch my content...
I've asked you that question, you've answered.
Yeah, but the people who watch my content don't want to see men in dresses. Clearly, I don't wear a dress. That's the point I'm making.
That's not why they're watching your content.
No.
You're not wearing a dress.
No, but that's the point I'm making. That's the point I was making. There's a large contingent of men who are not interested in the things that perhaps the YouTube algorithm's trying to feed them.
I think there are lots of... Look, when you support masculinity and masculine traits, I'm with you, right?
Okay, so you agree a man should protect and provide for a woman?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you agree if you were walking down the street with a woman, you'd be responsible with her safety?
Yeah.
Cool, absolutely. Okay. So if that woman wanted to walk alone at
night... I don't think I have authority...
Prašau, nepertrauk. Šita loginė seka gali daryti kažko.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool, absolutely. So if that woman wanted to walk alone at night...
I don't think I have authority over the woman as we do that.
Okay, so let me ask you another question, Piers, because we are professionals. Let's say your woman decided she wanted to take a nice little walk through the south side of Chicago at 2 a.m.
Šita loginė seka, Piersas iš karto peršoko, nereiškia, kad turėtum turėti autoritetą, bet šita loginė seka, ar tu pritari, kad turi rūpintis? Jo, sure. Kad tradicinės tos pačios. Jo, sure. Jeigu mes einam gatve su draugė ir kokie, nežinau, mafijozai kitoj gatvės pusėje ir mano draugė sako, to eisiu ir jos visus nachui pasiūsiu. Ir tu dabar sakai, ne, stovėk čia ir niekur neik. Tu tik ką, jai nurodėjai, ką daryti. Ir Piersas čia iš karto ginčias, kad čia authority. Bet esmė ta, kad jeigu jin tą nuės pats sakys, pats Piersas pritarė, kad Andrew Tate tada, arba Piersas toj vietoj turėtų eiti ir ją gint. Tai jeigu tu esi atsakingas už kažkieno gerovę, tu turi turėti kažkokį autoritetą. Čia logika. Nėra kitaip, kaip turėti kažkokią atsakomybę už kažką, jeigu neturi jokio autoriteto ir jokio gebėjimo priimti kažkokį sprendimą kažkada. Bet Piersas iš karto nutraukė, autoritetas tą paminėjo ir dabar mes einam į kitą pusę. Bet ta loginė seka, kur Andrew Tate norėjo jį privesti, čia buvo gera, tik...
Want to walk alone at
I don't
night
think I have authority over the woman as we do that.
Okay, so let me ask you another question, Piers, because we are professionals. Let's say your woman decided she wanted to take a nice little walk through the south side of Chicago at 2 a.m., and she wanted you to go with her, and you were responsible for fighting and dying on the spot if she was attacked. Don't you think you would say to her, no, we're not going out right now, it's not safe?
Yes.
Okay, so you'd have authority to make the decision. So
no, I wouldn't.
So
I would say, I don't think you should. If she decides to, it's her own volition.
Jo, bet tada, her own volition, bet tada man Andrew Tate ką sakytų, okei, aš su tokiu žmogum nenoriu būti ir aš tada nesu atsakingas už jos gerovę. Ir viskas. Ir čia esmės dalykas, kurie po valandos nesugeba surišti. Kad apie tą patį iš esmės kalba.
I have no power to stop her.
Completely.
Jo, Andrew Tate,
you clearly do. No, I think I have power to make the decision.
bet aš už Andrew tai čia kovoju dabar, blet, o manęs net nėra dialogė, kaip mane užvisa tokie žmonės. Niekad nesakė Andrew Tate, kad turi galę turėti ir tiesiog kontroliuoti, bet Piersas nedaina tas. Ir jis dabar net įdeda žodžius į Andrew Tate burną, kurių nesakė Andrew Tate. Fuck me.
You should. If she decides to, it's her own volition.
Well, if she decides, you're not going to stop her.
I have no power to stop her.
Completely.
But you think you do.
No, I don't think I have power to stop her.
You clearly do.
No, I think I have power to make the decision. I think, no, that's not sensible.
So if you have the power to make the decision, you have the power to stop her.
No, because
that's where we differ. And that's why I think it's interesting about you. I don't think you really think through what you're saying.
I think through what I'm saying so carefully.
Yeah, but Andrew,
Piers.
what you've literally just said is that you have the power to stop her.
No, I said I don't have the power to stop her. I'm not going to lock her in the room. I'm saying that...
So if she wants to go on her own...
Then she's going to go.
Then you don't have authority to stop her.
Okay, but as a couple, if we're going to sit there and decide if we're going to take this...
You asked me, would I feel a sense of responsibility for her safety? Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
So let me finish, Piers.
Would I have the power or authority to stop her doing it? No.
No, of course not. So let me finish, Piers. You're not going to stop her walking out the hotel. Of course, it's her decision. She's a sovereign individual. My point is that usually in a couple, you sit there as a team and you discuss, and perhaps on certain issues, the woman will know more about X and she'll decide X, and the man might know more about Y and he'll decide Y.
Fine.
So I'm saying if we're as a couple and we're sitting there and deciding, as a couple, as a team, and she says she wants to take this late night stroll, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to veto this one. I'm going to call veto.
Do you believe
because it's dangerous,
right.
Which to a degree would give me, in that particular scenario, a degree of authority. If she said, I don't want to listen to you, Andrew.
It doesn't give you authority.
If she says, I don't want to listen to you, Andrew, I want to go on that walk, then what can I do? Say, well, then I
don't have authority.
Then I wish you the best, my love.
Then you don't have authority.
Cool, then it's a semantic argument.
Not really.
I think
it's the complete opposite of what you said you had, which was authority.
No problem, Piers. No problem. But I think we actually...
What do you believe about depression? Do you believe depression is a real thing?
I believe that feeling depressed is real. I don't believe depression as a clinical disease is real.
Okay, let's go.
Correct.
You don't believe people can be clinically depressed?
I think PTSD is very real. Unfortunately, I have some friends who suffer from that. I know that feeling depressed is real. I believe that the number one power you have against these things are trying to take control of your own mind and affecting your own life. I believe that it's not healthy to hand over all your power and believe that depression is an outside disease that you can't affect. I know that when I've had difficult periods in my life, and also many of my friends, like I've said, suffer from PTSD and been through terrible things. I've lived a very difficult life, and I know people who have, that the things that made them feel better is when they woke up and said, you know what, I'm not going to allow this to damage me anymore. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight this as hard as I can.
Right, and by the way, on that, I agree.
So we agree.
Right? My favorite speech is the Rocky Balboa.
Okay, so then we agree.
No,
we bet viskas apie ką čia kalbėjai, čia ne klinikinė depresija.
That's what we don't agree.
Piers.
You don't, hang on. You've got to let me interject when I don't agree with you, right? Where I don't agree with you is that there's no such thing as clinical depression. There absolutely is.
Well,
it's a proven scientific medical reality.
Kaip blogai Piersas Morganas irgi apibūdino tą kur jie labai blogai identifikuoja, kur kritinis nesutarimo taškas įvyksta. Nes dabar Piersas pasakė, kad Andrew Tate išvardino visas priežastis, kodėl jis galvoja, kad klinikinė depresija net neegzistuoja, kad depresija neegzistuoja. Ta Piersas pasakė, bet aš tikiu, kad neegzistuoja. Ne, tu pasakai, kad aš pritariu visam tam, kad tu tik pasakėjai, bet tai neapibūdina klinikinės depresijos, tai apibūdina, kad tu galvoji, kas yra liūdesys, ar kai žmonės jaučiasi depressed, bet tai nėra klinikinė depresija, kaip ją nustato daktarai paskui.
It's a different argument about have we gone a bit too soft, right, in schools and all the rest of it. Absolutely. Do I think some people moan and whine too much about their lot in life? Definitely.
Okay.
Are we a victimhood society? 100%.
Okay.
Is there such a thing as clinical depression? Absolutely. And my argument is that if you actually bracket everybody who's not clinically depressed and doesn't have the genuine medical condition, then actually if millions of people are deemed to have depression, the ones who really need the help don't get it. Well, that's my point.
Well, that I would agree with. You're right. I think it's certainly an overused term.
But you don't accept there is such a thing as clinical depression.
No, I don't.
And that to me is a damaging view.
Okay. Well, let me explain why.
It's a dumb view.
If someone comes to me and says I'm clinically depressed or I feel very, very sad, I would say the first thing you need to do is stop.
Pala. If someone comes to me and says I am clinically depressed, I am very, very sad. Tai čia ir yra du labai skirtingi dalykai. Jeigu jis pasakys, kad I am clinically depressed, tai daktaras tą nustato. Jeigu pasakys, I am very, very sad, jisai pats tą nustatė. Bet tas I am very, very sad, tu jam gali padėti. Klinikinė depresija pas jį bus hormonų disbalansas, fakt visiškai smegenyse. Jokie tavo žodžiai, jokie tavo veiksmai to nesutvarkys, jam reikia vaistų. Jesus Christ, kaip galima tokio dalyko nesuprast?
Accepting the identity of a clinically depressed person. Stop accepting you have no control over this. And what you need to do is stop identifying that way, and let's work together to try and fight against it.
But there isn't an eminent doctor in the world who would tell you there is no such thing as clinical depression. Who would not tell you that some people is simply beyond their control.
I think Johan Hari wrote a book saying exactly that, my friend.
He's not an eminent doctor.
No, but
he's a journalist.
I said depression wasn't real long ago and was attacked for it. Then Johan Hari wrote a book, which
What's
actually...
What's it got to do with Johan Hari?
Because he wrote a book proving me right. Most people...
Johan Hari's a journalist.
Sure. And my point is that a lot of people who are clinically depressed are suffering with something in their life, and if you fix the problem in their life, perhaps they won't feel depressed anymore. That's not a disease.
Yeah, but Andrew...
That's situational.
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
If that's what you believe, Piers...
That's what I believe.
I don't believe in things that...
Čia fundamentaliai problema yra. Man neįdomu, ko Andrew Tate tiki, tipo šitoje vietoje. Jis religingas žmogus, čia jau man visiškai bullshit. Bet jis čia dabar sako dalyką, kuris prieštarauja mokslui. Ir čia jau prasideda faktas ir tikėjimas. Ir šitų dviejų dalykų sankirta. Piersas Morganas ką bando pasakyti, kad tu tiesiog objektyviai klysti. Ką Andrew Tate pasako, I believe I don't. Aš tikiu, kad aš neklystu. Ok, tavo tikėjimas nesusijęs. Čia tas pats klausimas. Kaip mes žinom, kas yra liga, kas ne? Pavyzdžiui, aš kaip žinau. Kaip jūs žinot, jūs nesat daktarai, aš nesu daktaras. Yra pasaulio sveikatos organizacijos, yra įvairios organizacijos. Ir jie vis atnaujina lygų sąrašą. Oficialiai diagnozuojamų lygų sąrašą. Homoseksualumas kažkada buvo liga įrašytas, jau ilgą laiką išimtas, nes nustatė, kad tai nėra liga. Labai daug dalykų yra liga, labai daug dalykų nėra liga, tai gali keistis, bet tikėjimo tame neturėtų būti. Jeigu tu sakai, kad toks dalykas kaip mokslinis, medicininis dalykas kaip klinikinė depresija neegzistuoja, tu turi pateikti įrodymą tada kažkokį popierių parašyti mokslinį. Tavo nuomonė ir tavo tikėjimas yra labantyra. Tai Andrew Tate objektyviai yra neteisus, nes lygų sąraše klinikinė depresija yra labai gan aiškiai aprašyta ir tai yra realus dalykas. Ir gal vieną dieną, kai mes visiškai nuskanuosim smegenis kažkaip, sugebės kažkas gal pasikeistas, bet dabar tai yra mokslinis faktas, medicininis faktas ir Andrew Tate nuomonė visiškai relevant. Jis objektyviai klysta, sakydamas, kad klinikinė depresija neegzistuoja.
Take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers,
that would agree with it.
Piers,
do you think you know more than doctors?
I can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it. I can't be haunted by a ghost if I don't believe in ghosts.
Well, that's like saying I'm never going to die because I don't believe in it. It's ridiculous.
Perhaps, but if it allows me to live a life where I feel happy and content within myself.
Ir štai ką dar padaro tikėjimas žmonėms. Objektyvi realybė tampa irrelevant. Aš netikiu vėžio, aš aiškiai niekad vėžiu nesusirgsiu, tai nepriklauso nuo tavęs. Aš netikiu atominiam bombom, tai aš nesproksiu nuo atominio sprogimo, jeigu už metro atominė bomba sprogs. Tikėjimas ir objektyvi realybė nesuderimin dalykai tokiems žmonėms. Ir visą logiką, visą faktą galima numoti ranka, aš tikiu priešingai. Tai nėra argumentas niekam. You're just wrong.
Again, this is that little area where you lose me.
No, I don't lose you.
You won't, because
Piers,
somebody with your following says there is no such thing.
The thousands of people who have emailed me saying, my doctor told me I was clinically depressed and it's a disease that I have got in my brain and I can't be fixed. And I started listening to you and I realized that that's not the case and I can fix my own life and you're the only person who has ever helped me.
Oh, Andrew.
Thousands of people have emailed me that exact email.
If you think you are single-handedly curing people of clinical depression, you are living in cloud cuckoo land.
I am reading the emails of people.
Gerai, čia dar yra vienas niuansas. Amerika turi opioidų krizę ir aš visai tikiu, kad Amerikoje klinikinė depresija gali išdiagnozuoti daugiau žmonių, negu kad tikrai turėtų. Nes jie jiem išrašo opioidus, iš ko gauna masyvės premijas, kiek žinau, ten gali būti problema ir tame, kas pakreips tą pasaulėžiūrį yra Andrew Tate. Bet problema yra ta, kad čia tada bus false diagnozė neteisinga. O ne tai, kad neegzistuoja depresija. Bet aš čia nežinau skaičių, aš čia sugalvojau, kad tai gali būti paaiškinimas, kodėl Andrew Tate, pavyzdžiui, šitą pasakė. Dar vienas paaiškinimas gali būti, kad žmonės net nėjo pas daktarus ypatingai, arba ten pas kažką pašnekėjo ir pasakė, galbūt tau depresija, ir paskui nėjo testų darytis daugiau, nėjo nieko darytis. Ir, tipo, aš nežinau situacijos čia, bet kaip būtų, pasakymas, kad klinikinė depresija neegzistuoja, čia yra obviously false.
People who I have cured of clinical depression.
You're reading emails from people who have believed you when you say there isn't such a thing, and they've probably never been diagnosed clinically depressed. They just want to go along with what Andrew Tate says.
I don't think so.
I think your view of that view is dangerous.
Nes jo, čia ta antidepresantų, opioidų, kaip lietuviškai būtų sakyti, ta krizė, tai jo, čia problema yra kita jau. Ir, kai va tiek tokių dalykų va yra ir tada labai sunku suprast, kas būtent jam rašė ir ką rašė. Ir dar vienas dalykas, turbūt galėtų ir Andrew Tate pusėje sakyti apie placebo efektą, kuris yra labai įdomus dalykas. Tai tam tikrais atvejais gal ir gali padėti, bet čia jau anyway. Ko čia apie tai ir depresiją? Kalbam apie priklausomybę, nes kiek žinau, Amerikoje yra visai, jie gauna premijas, jeigu priskiria kažkam antidepresantus, o tarp antidepresantų, kaip ta klinikinė depresija gydo, tai priskiria ir opiatus. Kad ten labai susiję ir tas yra labai fucked up ir ten bando dabar dėl to kovoti. Aš dabar tiksliai nežinau. Nes jie tipo pradeda gydyti depresiją, tada pradeda kitką ir tada, kad opiatus priskiria bet kam už bet ką, todėl pas juos ta krizė ir yra. Bet sakau, aš čia pradėjau šitą, skaičių nežinau, bet aš kiek žiūrėjau, kad netgi jie liktais premijas gauna to, kiek žmonių ten, iš farmos, kiek kam išrašys tos antidepresantus ir opiatus. Aš sakau, kad tai glaudžiai susiję. Kad tipo ir šalia išrašo, nes čia kalbam apie tos fringe atvejus, kur net neteisingai depresiją diagnozuoja, supranti? Tai jeigu, nuo depresijos ir neskirtų, bet jeigu netgi neteisingai diagnozuoja ir tada išrašo, I don't know, nežinau. Aš čia nežinau, bet tai yra tik niuansas, kur kai Andrew Tate pasakė, kad jis gavo 1000 ten laiškų, kur sako, man klinikinė depresija iš daktaro ten išrašyta ir jisai jiem padėjo. Aš mėginu galbūt sukurti scenarijų, kuris galbūt galimas, kur gal tikrai neteisingai dėl tam tikrų motyvų diagnozavo tą žmogų. Nes jie tikrai turi ten problemą su to. Tai I don't know, aš nežinau, va tas esmė jo. Okay, žiūrim toliau.
That you think my view is dangerous, and I respect you have the right to view that, to think that. I think that clinical depression, I actually agree with you, is massively overdiagnosed. I've already said that PTSD is a very real thing. I've already said...
hang on.
Okay.
Again, you're misquoting me. I did not say clinical depression is massively overdiagnosed. I said that people who claim to be depressed but don't have clinical depression, I think that is massively overblown, right? In other words, there are a lot of people who just have a bad day and declare, I've got depression. Yeah. And I say, well, have you been to a doctor? Have you been clinically diagnosed? If you have, and you have clinical depression, that's one thing. But if you haven't, we could probably work on some mental strength and resilience skills with you. But a clinically depressed person has an absolutely proven medical condition that is beyond their control.
Not according to me and many others, my friend.
Well, look, what do you know about it, honestly?
I know.
You're not a doctor, or you're not trained, are you?
I'm not a doctor.
You're not a psychiatrist, you're none of those things.
Sure.
You're a guy on the make, he's done very well for himself, spouting stuff off, much of which I agree with, as you've seen in the interview, but some of which is ludicrous, and that's one of them.
It's not ludicrous.
It is.
It's not.
If you said to me, we're in a victimhood society, it's got to stop, I'm with you.
Okay.
But the moment you try and deny clinical depression...
I believe feeling depressed is real. I do not believe it's a disease that you catch from the sky and you cannot affect. I believe that no matter what happens, I believe you have control of your own mind and you can fight against it. I believe if you change your circumstances in your life, you may feel different. I'll give you a quick example. I had a guy who emailed me saying he was clinically depressed and he was going to kill himself. I obviously am not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I told him, because I replied to my emails. I said, have you been to a psychiatrist? He said, yes, I'm clinically depressed. I've been on these pills, this amount of time. I'm on antidepressants, it doesn't work. I said, I don't know what to say to you besides this. And he said he lost his girlfriend. That's why I became clinically depressed. I said, listen, go to the gym, get a six-pack first. Once you've got a six-pack, email me again. If you still feel like killing yourself, I don't know what else to say to you. But I'd say, strong body is a strong mind, go train. He went, he started sending me progress pictures, emailing me him getting in better shape, and eventually got a six-pack. He's now a professional bodybuilder. And he said, I can't believe I was considering that. I feel so much better, etc. The doctor who was telling him he was clinically depressed and couldn't cure it, he started taking control of his own life, and now he felt better. Now, I'm not saying it's the case for everybody.
No.
I'm just saying.
Here's my question, though. Have you seen the guy's
Čia, ką sakė Didė Drago, visų pirma, sužinot mums reikia, kiek yra daktarų aplink mus, kurie supranta, kad daro statistiką, nori, aš darau tyrimą, nuėsiu pas daktarą ir man nustatys depresiją, pas bet kokį, nes educhai yra. Aš suprantu tą argumentą, kur tipo, jeigu tu žinai, kokius atsakymus duoti klausimus, tu gali gauti kokį nori charakterio tipą. Pavyzdžiui, jeigu tu žinai, kad tam tikro, pavyzdžiui, INTJ tipo žmonės, tam tikrus atsakymus duosi charakterio testą ir jie gaus tą tipą. Tai tipo čia tas argumentas, kad jeigu aš žinau, ko ieško daktarai ir aš pameluosiu jam ir duosiu tos atsakymus ir jie man nustatys depresiją. Dabar aš nesu daktaras, bet aš kaip suprantu, jie actually ir fizinių tyrimų atlieka, ne tik verbališkai apklausą padaro, bet man atrodo Amerikoje actually gali nustatyti ir ADHD, ir klinikinę depresiją tik apklausą padarius. Bet aš nežinau šito. Bet čia net klausimas ne tame būtų. Klausimas tada būtų šitaip. Dėdė Drago, pavyzdžiui, ar tu galvoji, kad medikai yra antiek tūpi, viso pasaulio medikai ir mokslininkai yra antiek tūpi, kad jie sako, žiūrėk, kad jie nesupranta šito, kad žmogus atėjęs ir davęs teisingus atsakymus ir jam nustatė klinikinę depresiją ir klinikinė depresija yra liga. Ar tu galvoji, kad jie nesupranta to ir kad tikrai yra daugiau ir tyrimų padaryta ir kažkas, ko tu nežinai, kad tai būtų nustatyta liga? Nes čia grinai atrodo, kad tu jauties, kad tu žinai geriau negu mokslininkai, kurie tam realiai visą gyvenimą savo skiria. Kad jie tarsi, čia jie nepagalvojo, kad žmogus bet koks gali ateiti ir pameluoti. You know? Nes čia man primena, kai išeina kažkoks straipsnis arba mokslinis tyrimas vakcinų temai kokioj ir ateina žmogus iš savo padvalo kokio ir sako, žiūrėk, čia yra kažkas ne taip ir kažkas, apie ką visi jūs nepagalvojot, aš žinau. Neseni, jie visi apie tai pagalvojo ir jie priėmė sprendimą daug labiau informuoti, ar tai yra liga ar ne. Nes čia man grinai dvelkia tuo, kad tie žmonės, kurie galvoja, kad taip lengvai tu gali galbūt apgauti kažką kažkaip, bet jeigu tai būtų taip lengva, tiesiog pasakiau 2 atsakymus ir apgavau, mokslininkai nėra tūpi, jie žinotų, kad žmogus gali taip daryti ir, galbūt net pats nesuprasti, ką daro ir apgauti. Ir tai tada nebūtų liga nustatyta. Tam, kad tai būtų patvirtinta kaip liga, kaip psichologinis sutrikimas, tam reikia daugiau, negu kad tiesiog atsakyti klausimus. Tipo, you know? Bet jo, tą pasakius, čia apie pačią ar tą ligą įrašyti sąrašą kaip ligos. Tema, kaip ją diagnozuoja, ypač kokioje šalyje kaip Amerikoje, čia jau yra visai kitas dalykas. Nes ten aš tikrai tikiu, kaip sakiau, jie nori užsidirbti tenais ir ten ir ADHD ir viską diagnozuos daug atsainiau. Nes man, aš actually turiu ADHD, turėčiau turėti, aš nesityriau, bet Amerikoje mane 100% būtų medikavę. Toks, koks aš vaikas buvau, kaip aš augau, Amerikos tėvai, tipo, mane dabar būtų ir vedę ir mane tik 100% būtų medikavę. Bet aš augau Lietuvoje, kur tas net neegzistavo realiai ir aš negavau vaistų ir aš tiesiog augau. Ir dabar, ką labiau supranta, tai kad, tiesiog net nebūtinai tą reikia gydyti, reikia tiesiog labiau suprasti, kaip egzistuoti, bet čia vėl skirtingi biški dalykai vėlgi. Bet jo, yra labai daug problemų susipinę tokių į vieną ir Andrew Tate tada sako, ir bet kurie žmonės sako, tai ta liga net neegzistuoja. Bet daktarai nusprendžia, liga egzistuoja. Daktarai, kurie daug labiau informuoti, kurie irgi supranta, kad diagnozė gali būti neideali, kad galima žmonėms išmokti atsakymus į klausimus. Jie tą supranta viską, bet jie vis tiek nusprendė, kad tai yra liga. Tai reiškia, yra daug daugiau dalykų, kurių mes galbūt net nežinom, kad tai būtų įrašyta į sąrašą ligų. O jo, jeigu kalbėsim apie kaimus, ką ten diagnozuoja, ta prasme, čia jau viskai suprantama, true. Bet kokią prasme apie tai šnekėt?
Okay. Medical records.
Of course not. I just told you the
So
story.
you're just taking his word for it.
I am taking the words of a man who emailed me with a bunch of medication in specific
So you're
doses.
denying proven science because one guy writes to you who you help and you've not seen any...
O tau, kur sakai, Amfa išrašė čia nuo ADHD, čia, tipo, ta mikrodausinimą kažkokį, tipo, ten, taip, kiek žinau, taip padeda. Ar jo, lygtais kažkaip čia įdomu būtų irgi.
evidence you ever had clinical depression diagnosed.
I'm denying the
Slow
idea
release.
that...
On the back of it, you go on your rants in public to tens of millions of people denying something because this guy writes to you and says he had it and you cured him. And I think that's a dangerous mindset, Andrew.
That's fine.
And that's where you don't have a responsible view of your influence over
Disagree.
people.
It's very responsible because I'm saving people's lives. I disagree that if you feel depressed, I disagree that you cannot affect it and change your life and take control and fix yourself and feel happier. I disagree with that.
Do you think
I refuse to accept that there are people out there who cannot become happy, contented individuals. I refuse to accept we live in a world where God has created people who, no matter how hard they work and how good their life becomes, can't be happy. I don't accept that. I accept that the universe is a very giving place and that God loves all of us. And if you try your best and you work hard, you can become a better person. And I also will argue with you, and I'll counter the point, that you sitting here on your platform telling people they have clinical depression, there's nothing they can do about it, is far more dangerous. Okay, well then, if they have clinical depression...
Why do you misquote me?
No, because you're saying...
You hate being misquoted.
No, you're saying if people have clinical depression, that
I never said
they
there's
have a
nothing to
disease.
do about it. They go to a doctor and they get diagnosed and they get help.
Then I would argue the point that if
It's
somebody...
the complete opposite of what you just said I said.
I would argue the point that if somebody has depression of any kind, whether it's clinical, whether it exists or not, whether they feel depressed or not, whatever, that taking control of their life, taking personal responsibility and working hard is always going to be the positive, best thing they can possibly do for their life going forward.
How
and the people
positive
going
is
around
it?
them. So sitting here saying, I don't believe in clinical depression, you don't believe in depression. No, I don't. I believe that people can take control and fight against things.
Right.
I believe in personal sovereignty.
Right. Fine.
Good. So we agree.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Nu, čia vėl grįžtam prie to pačio argumento. I believe in personal sovereignty. Tu gali tikėti, kom nori, bet galų gale yra objektyvumas ir objektyvi realybė. Atominė bomba, jeigu šalia sprogsta, tu gali ką nori, tikėk, kom nori, you're dead.
On my side, afraid of being cancelled along with me.
As I said to you from the start,
that's all
I
it
agree
is.
with a lot of what you say.
Completely. So we're
But
talking
I'm
about...
taking you to task over the stuff I don't agree with.
Sure.
And I'm just not sure you understand why it's wrong, which is in itself quite revealing. Let me talk to you about Alex. Let me talk to you about Alex Jones, right? Who I have a bit of history with. He tried to get me deported from the United States.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. What is your view of Alex Jones?
I think that Alex Jones is a sovereign individual who, very much like the rabid left, deserves a chance to speak on his points of view. I think that the truth on issues is usually somewhere in the middle between two extremes. And
So you think Sandy Hook was staged?
I don't know anything about Sandy Hook.
Really? You know he's just
the
been
fuck?
sued by the families for millions and millions.
I have no idea.
You don't know anything about it?
No.
So why would you support someone in
Shepard-
public when you know nothing about the most infamous
When
thing
have I
attached to
supported him in public?
You
Wait,
have supported
what?
him in public.
I've been on his podcast.
Yeah, but you said nice things about him.
I say nice things about lots of people.
What do you think of Alex Jones?
I said nice things about you, Piers.
That's fine. So you should. I'm a nice person.
So to sit and say that I've been on a podcast and I say nice things about
But
him
you
means
said
I
you support his right to speak about things like Sandy Hook?
I don't know Sandy Hook. I don't know. And
You
to
know
say-
what it was.
Šnekėt, ką
it
nori,
was
I
a
guess.
mass shooting.
Kol įstatymų
school children.
nepažeidžia.
Okay, but to sit and
And he,
it's actually no. Let's stop for a second. Please don't interrupt me.
Ar jūs supratot kažkas Pierso Morgano argumentą čia? Nes Andrew Tate apibūdino jį kaip žmogų ir pasakė, kad visi žmonės turi teisę kalbėti ir tada sako, Sandy Hook, pala, ten visų pirma, ten, man atrodo, actually įstatymą pažeidė, tai obviously ne, bet prie ko čia Andrew Tate? Jisai, what? Nelabai suprantu argumentą.
Here's
Morgano.
why I know why you're good at your job. First, you interrupt people a lot, which is good. It's a good skill,
Actually,
and you're and then there you go. Prove me right.
But here's
and the
exactly
timing's good.
Here's exactly what I do. I only interrupt people like you when you either refuse to answer the question or answer a completely different one.
Sure.
And I want to remind you of what the question was.
Fair, that's
or
fair.
when you misquote me back, which you've done repeatedly through the interview, where you say, you see, Piers, you agree with me. And the viewer who's been watching will go, no, he didn't.
Cool, no problem. The other thing you do is you try and set these traps like now. So you're saying
What's the trap you think I'm setting?
You're saying that I agree with every single point of view a man has.
I literally didn't say that.
You're saying, well, you support Alex Jones.
Why would you misquote me?
Because you're saying you support Alex Jones and you said you've been on his podcast and he said this. I don't know
What do you think of Alex Jones?
I don't know everything he said.
What do you
Piers.
think of him?
I think on his podcast he was cordial. I think he was professional on his podcast. I've also done podcasts with rabid leftists and people who openly hate me.
Is it wrong
I do a podcast circuit.
Okay.
So, and I don't know everything he's ever said.
When somebody like
and I don't know what, so I don't know what you're trying to get me here because I did a podcast.
If you let me get a word in edgeways, I'll tell you.
It's a lame trick.
If you let me get a word in, I will tell you.
Let's go.
Alex Jones said that Sandy Hook didn't happen. It was staged by actors.
Okay.
This compounded the appalling grief of the families of those poor 20 children who were gunned to pieces by a lunatic with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. They were already grief-stricken beyond belief, and this guy poured petrol onto that grief quite deliberately to make a huge amount of money from his InfoWars.
Okay. Kadangi aš pasidomėjau tą temą biškai, aš žinau apie tą temą, bet prie ko čia Andrew Tate tada? Jis pasakė, jis nesidomi ten visko, ką jisai sako, nes jo, mes žiūrėjom interviu. Alex Jones banas irgi buvo shit, jis turi teisę kalbėti, ką ten nori nesąmonės, bet tada su šituo atveju Sandy Hook tema jis actually įstatymą pažeidė. Kaip suprantu. Ir už tai jį į teismus padavė ir laimėjo teismuose. Tai viskas kaip ir geriau. Prie ko čia Andrew Tate? Ar Piersas Morganas dabar galvoja, kad Andrew Tate turi žinoti visiškai viską apie viską? Ir nusimanyti viską apie kiekvieną žmogų, paskui podcast'ą apie kiekvieną jo dramą, viską žinoti, įstatymą žinoti. What's the point? Prie ko čia Andrew Tate?
Fake news bullshit. And as a result, a lot of the families have now sued him and they've won.
Okay.
He's going to have to pay back tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars in damages to these families. And quite right, it won't do anything about the pain he caused them. Some of them actually had people turn up outside their houses with guns.
Yeah.
Because Alex Jones had told them that these parents were making it all up. They were all staged actors. It was all run by the government. So I simply say to you, now I've told you that, what is your view of Alex Jones?
I don't see why any of that has to do with me. It's very
true.
interesting. I've done the guy's podcast. I know him well. He was professional and courteous to me. When I meet somebody and they show me respect, I show them back. Respect. That's what I do, as I did with you.
You respect him?
If somebody shows me respect, I show them respect back.
So I don't know.
Čia irgi, čia taip nesažininga, tipo... Čia tipo grinai, tu eini gatve ir kažkas iš priekio ateina ir ten ar užleidžia tave, ar, pasielgia kažkaip, tipo, ir tu, dėkui, viskas. Tokia interakcija. He showed you respect, you showed him respect. Tada prie tavęs pribėga, žinai, su kuo tu kam tu tik pagarbą parodė? Hitleriui, blėt. Jisai žydus žudo. Pala, what the fuck, aš nieko apie tai nežinojau, aš nesusijęs su to. Tai čia grinai toks, gal ekstrem pavyzdys, bet, tipo, čia kalba apie elgesį. Jis nieko nežino apie Alex Jones ir jo ten Sandy Hook teismus. Ką čia Piersas Morganas bando pritemti, kad tu negali tipo, pagarbiai elgtis su kitu žmogum? Kad tu neturėtum pagarbiai elgtis su kitu žmogum, net jeigu nežinai visko, it's so retarded. Čia Piersas Morganas neturi argumentą.
That's a stupid question, Piers.
It's not. It's a logical extension of your argument.
No, if in 1931 I was walking through Germany and a man come up to me and said, sorry for bumping into you, I'd say, sorry, no problem, mate. I'd show respect back.
Kad tą patį pavyzdį papasakoja apie Hitlerį, blėt.
I don't know, what are you trying to say? That I sanction the Holocaust?
You literally just said if somebody respects you, you respect them back automatically.
I say if somebody shows...
Kto nachuj? Oh, shit. Kto nachuj? Rimtai mane kaltins, kad privočinau. Jesus Christ, man atrodo, aš jau beveik antrą kartą padariau tą patį šitam video. Oh my God.
Shows me respect, I show respect back. That's a good way to go through life.
Whoever it is.
If somebody shows me respect and is courteous to me, I'm courteous back.
How do you respect somebody who caused such misery and pain to Sandy Hook?
I have no idea the specifics of the thing you're discussing. I don't...
Taip, vienas aš dažnai Hitlerio pavyzdį naudoju, nes kai tu mėgini privesti pavyzdį prie kažkokio, extreme atveju, tu dažnai vedi prie Hitlerio, nes labiausiai extreme atvejis, kokį gali sugalvoti, I guess. Jesus.
I don't understand any of it. I don't know anything about it. You told me your version of events.
When did you go on the podcast?
I was on the podcast about four times in the last 4 years. I did one relatively recently.
So four times you went on Alex Jones's podcast.
Correct.
Promoting him, helping him make money.
I don't think it was promoting and helping him because...
Well, it's his podcast.
Well, yeah, but I've been on the podcasts of people who absolutely hate me. I've been on liberal left-wing podcasts. I've been on feminist podcasts. And no, you just sat here saying I would like you to agree, perhaps we can agree on this point, that I'm not a feminist. I go on feminist podcasts. I do a podcast circuit. I do
You're not a
5
feminist?
No, I don't know.
Čia,
would you think a feminist is?
čia Piersas
change
tipo
subject
neturėjo
here. Stay on the
jokio
subject.
You mentioned
argumento.
feminism.
Completely, but you're trying to get away from the point because what you did is you're trying to say because I did a podcast, I sanction all of this person's views, and I'm saying I do 5 podcasts a week. I do 5 podcasts a week, and I don't sanction 100% the views of any other person on the planet because I'm an individual, and he has an individual views, as do you. So I don't know why you're trying to come at me with one of his views and pretend that's something to do with me.
Because it's a pretty big view.
No, but
and
it's a lame trick, Piers, and you're better than this. So let's move on.
Would you,
it's lame, and let's move on.
Putin had a podcast, would you go on it?
Sure.
You would? Great. Okay, then we know what you're talking about.
If Vladimir Putin had a podcast...
Aš prisimenu seniau kartais mėgau prikolą padaryti, kad su draugiam kokiom einu ar dar kažką ten einam mieste kur nors ir lyja, žinai, ar kažką, tipo, ir tas bairis, tipo, taip iškeli ranką ir, lyja, tipo, tikrinu ar lyja, tipo, ir man patikdavo jų reakciją žiūrėti. 100% tiesiog primdavo kaip jokingą bairį. Bet realiai žiūrint dabar, gal ir nereiktų to bairio tipo daryti. It's pretty funny though.
I'd go on it. If Joe Biden had a podcast, I'd go on it. If a feminist has a podcast, I'd go on it.
Jeigu tu esi Seimo narys, aišku, tu nedarysi tokio dalyko. Čia tu gali tarp draugų bairį, nes visi žino, kad tu nesi fucking nacis.
Piers Morgan has a podcast, I'll go on it. If Alex Jones, I mean, I don't see the point you're making. There's no point here. You're digging, but there's nothing to find.
Well, I'm not. I'm taking your position that if somebody shows you respect them.
I think that...
I'm saying there are lots of people in the world I do not respect. If Vladimir Putin showed me respect, I would not respect him.
That's your opinion.
Jo, bet tu žinai apie jį jau dalykų. Šiandien yra tas pavyzdys apie Putiną, žinai, ką jis darė panašiai. Andrew Tate nieko nežinau ten apie kažkokius įstatymo pažeidimus iš Alex Jones ar ten Sandy Hook. Jis nieko nežino. Su elgės pagarbis pagarbą parodė. Jeigu tu eitum gatvė ir pasisveikintum mandagiai pasielgtus su Putinas, bet tu nežinotum, kas jisai yra, tu lygiai taip pat pagarbą kitą žmogui parodytum. Ir tada tau sakytų, tu žinai, kas ten buvo, ten Putinas buvo. Tipo, it's horrible. Čia argumentų nėra.
It's my view. What's
your that's
view?
Your view. Well,
your view is you would.
You're sitting here, Piers, saying that I'm on Uncensored show, and in your intro you said that it's important that we don't have echo chambers and we have varying and that we have varying opinions.
Correct.
But then you're saying the people you don't like, you wouldn't go on their podcast.
No.
So you are a hypocrite.
No.
I will go on anybody's podcast and discuss any point.
I don't think you understand what censorship means, do you? Like a lot of words we've had problems with today.
You're just saying
What do you think censorship means?
No, but the point I'm trying to make here.
Hang on. What do you think censorship means?
Don't hide from the fact that you're saying you will only do podcasts with people you like.
Why do you think that's censorship?
Matai, Andrew Tate irgi šiandien labai supranta. Čia ne tame, kad šnekėjo, tame, kad pagarbą rodė. Arba, tipo, kad Piersas Morganas sako, kad, tipo, jeigu tu gerbi Alex Jones, ką Andrew Tate sako, ne, kai su manim elgias pagarbiai, aš su to žmogum elgiaus pagarbiai. Jis nežino apie Sandy Hook. Tai čia apie tą elgesį pagarbiai, tipo, su žmogumu, apie kurį gal tu visko nežinai. Jeigu su tavimi elgias kažkas pagarbiai, tu natūraliai elgsies pagarbiai su jo, tipo, tu net negalvosi, kas ten per žmogus. Bet Piersas Morganas, ką iš karto sako, kad tu gerbi tą žmogų ir viską, ką jisai stovi, ką jisai pasakė, jo pozicijas, maždaug šitaip, kas yra viskas absurdas. Tai čia ne vis, bet Andrew Tate priema, kad, biškai kitaip irgi, kad į podcastą negalime eiti ir panašiai, susiję, bet ne visai esminis dalykas, kur jie nesusišneka.
No, that's your prerogative. My prerogative is I'll discuss opinions with anybody, and I've done hard left-wing. Why are you not asking me about the podcasts I've done for the people who are hard liberal left-wing?
By the way, I don't care whether they're left or right.
Okay.
Extremists, to me, are all nuts, right?
Then we agree.
Yes.
So, perfect.
Good.
Next subject.
All right, here's my next subject. It's a very serious case here.
Jesus. And before we move on, sorry, Piers, but before you move on, I do find it kind of disingenuous, and I know we're on a show, and I don't have a personal problem with you, but it is kind of disingenuous to try and sit here and lump me in with some school shooting. That's nothing to do with me. That's nothing to do with me. On any level.
Let me respond.
On any level.
Let me explain. Like you just said, you've been on this podcast 4 times.
In 4 years.
Since he said the whole thing was staged.
I don't know when he said.
And I think the fact that a smart guy like you wants me to believe you had no idea that Alex Jones, who's been in the news now for the last 2 years for being sued by these families for the most heinous thing imaginable, pouring petrol onto their grief by claiming that shooting was staged.
gali
The fact that
nežinot
you're
nieko apie
pretending
tai.
you didn't know about any of that.
It's not about pretending
And
I
you've
didn't
been on his podcast 4
Piers.
times.
Visų pirma, tikrai gali nežinoti apie tai nieko. Ir visų antra, jis nesakė, kad sutinka su viskuom ar gerbė žmogų. Jis sakė, kad pagarbą parodė ir pagarbą parodžiau atgal. Kaip, pavyzdžiui, Andrew Tate dabar kalba su Piersu Morganu. Jis labai pagarbiai kalba. Jie realiai abu gan pagarbiai kalba. Ginčiasi, nesutinka, bet pagarbiai kalba. Ir galbūt jie net priešai yra, yra ir nesutinka ir, priešiškai žiūri vienas kitą, bet jie elgiasi pagarbiai. Ir čia yra skirtumas. Gerbti žmogų ir viską, ką jis daro ir panašiai, ir tiesiog elgtis pagarbiai. Aš nežinau, kaip tokį nesutarimą jiems čia išsiaiškinti, bet čia yra labai paprastas dalykas.
Piers.
Supporting him and making him money, so damn right I'm going to call you out on
Piers,
it.
when I do a podcast, if you think I spend time analyzing the point of view of that person and everything they've ever said
You should.
for years,
No,
beforehand,
you
Not
definitely
years, it was
shouldn't.
minutes in most
years
cases.
and years.
When did you last go on his- When did
Piers,
you last go on his
Piers,
podcast?
you trying to lump me in and attack me for a person whose podcast I do having a view is absolutely childish. Because I've done a bunch of podcasts with
So you
people.
would do a podcast-
I've done a bunch of podcasts with people who are advocates.
Pagal Pierso logiką, tada Andrew Tate turėjo eiti į Wikipediją ir skaityti Pierso Wikipediją apie jo kontroversijas, kur aš net praleidau, nes I don't give a shit. Jis čia 96 metais kažkokį kontroversiją turėjo, phone hacking allegations kažkokį turėjo, Fuse and Banned Television Guest, jis pats kontroversijų turėjo. Tai dabar Andrew Tate su tavim nieks neturėtų pastovėti, nes visi privalo žinoti visiškai viską. It's retarded.
Advocating for things that I do not agree with on every single level. In fact, most of my podcasts are me disagreeing with people. So it's completely crazy that you're trying to lump me in with that. That's cheap.
I think you are completely misconstruing the point of what I'm saying. I think deliberately.
No, what you're trying is a cheap trick. And I'm just making it clear
It's
to the
not a
audience.
cheap trick.
It's a
I'm just
cheap
curious where your moral line is.
It's a cheap trick.
Where's your moral line?
I disagree with the points of view with the majority of the people I do podcasts with.
Jo,
so
bet
it's a very cheap trick you're trying.
Some people invent vile things to make themselves rich off the back of families of little kids who've been blown to pieces with a machine gun or a semi-automatic version of a machine gun. I think that
Čia turbūt ir yra esminė priežastis, kodėl žmonės Amerikoje taip priešiškai, ir ne tik Amerikoje, ir Lietuvoje, taip atrodo, jeigu žmogus nepritarė jų nuomonė kažkokiu, pavyzdžiui, politinių klausimų, kur net subjektyvus būna klausimai, jie neberodo pagarbos tam žmogui ir maždaug tu esi priešas ir aš tave nušausiu, nes vos nes tu žemiau žmogaus manesi. Čia ir yra problema. Tu gali nesutikti su viskuo, ką žmogus sako, ir galvoti, kad jisai yra vos blogis yra ir viskas, kuo jis tiki, kenkia visuomeniai. Bet techniškai kažkokiu lygiu tu vis tiek turi rodyti kažkokią pagarbą kitam žmogui, ir nes tik tada jūs galite susėsti ir šnekėti ir actually aiškintis kažką. Jeigu tu pradedi mąstyti taip, kad gerai, šičia yra pats blogiausias žmogus pasaulyje, nes jisai kažkokią kitokią politinę poziciją turi, ar ten whatever, tu tada nebeturės jokio dialogo ir čia atsiranda ta priešprieša, kur niekaip jokio dialogo neįmanoma, ir tada vienintelis būdas arba užmušti žmogų, arba užbanint. Ir tai yra, man atrodo, daug kenksmingiau visuomeniai. Tokia Pierso Morgano extended pozicija tada. Bet jisai prieš tai sakė, kad jis yra prieš cenzūrą ir prieš banus. Tai aš dabar net nežinau, kokia jo pozicija.
Is actually a line I wouldn't cross. I wouldn't be happy to go on someone's podcast when they've been responsible for doing that. It's not about political views or differences of opinion over facts. It's about somebody deliberately inventing a pack of lies to compound the grief of families. And I'm curious, you don't think you have any need to go down any kind of moral quandary about people like that before you continue to allow them to use you for their own promotion?
He didn't use me. He didn't use me for
Why does he have you on the
promotion.
podcast?
Because we disagreed and discussed points like we're doing with you right now.
Did you call him out on that?
Are you using me? We didn't discuss that.
I'm not using you. I'm giving you a platform most people aren't giving you right now to show the world who you really are.
Fantastic. So neither of us are using each other. I'm here on your show. I'm providing you with content. You're giving me a platform. And nobody's using each other. It's mutual. We don't agree on a whole bunch of issues.
It's fine.
And here we are.
I think we've had
Realiai Piersas Morganas tik apgynė Andrew Tate argumentą šito klausimu. Čia yra taip tūpas argumentas.
Robust exchange.
Yeah, just like I've done on nearly every other podcast. And if someone were to come and say to me in the future, there's something, heaven forbid, there's a skeleton in your closet, and someone were to come to me and say, you were on Piers Morgan's show, did you know he's X or he's done X? I would say that's absolutely nothing to do with me.
Right. But
I make the same point protecting you. I don't know what you do. I don't know your personal life.
I can guarantee one thing. I will not be inventing stories about the families of kids.
I hope not. I hope you're a righteous person.
I'm not claiming to be a righteous person.
I don't know.
I'm just saying that
Bet net jeigu tu sukurtum tokią istoriją, Andrew Tate neprivalo palaikyti tavęs ir tai, kad jis buvo tavo podcaste, nereiškia, kad palaikys ir jis net neprivalo domėtis tavo visais views. Tame esmė. Bet jis atėjęs į tavo podcastą, tau rodys pagarbą kaip žmogui ir kalbės tada, gal ginsitės apie tą temą būtent, gal ne. Ir, But
I just think it's interesting that you have no moral compulsion about going on people
It's not about moral compulsions. It's about, I don't know what you do, Piers. You could have a bunch of skeletons in your closet, my friend. I don't have a clue. I'm here on your TV show.
I'm sure we all have lots of skeletons. Let me ask you this.
Pirsas čia tragišką argumentą norėjo padaryti.
Do you identify as a feminist?
I think that women and men are fantastic. Both of us are fantastic. I think women reproduce. I think women need to be respected, protected, provided for. I think that modern feminism is kind of hard for me to even truly understand.
What do you think it means? What is feminism?
I think that the idea of feminism is that men and women are equal under the law.
And do you believe that?
Completely.
We should be treated completely equal.
Yeah, but we are equal under the law. Wouldn't you agree?
Not really. I think there are still some issues in the world where, I mean, certainly in workplace, the gender pay gap remains. They're not treated equally in most cases, women.
Well, that can be discussed, the gender pay gap. I think that's already been discussed at length. I think that there's actually...
You think women should go to work?
I think women should work completely.
You do?
Why wouldn't they?
Because in the parts of the country, of the world you were mentioning earlier, that have different views of women, they don't go to work.
In the parts of the world that person from the podcast was from, for the point I made, yeah, they didn't. But I don't live in those parts of the world. I think women should be free to work if they choose. I think it's very important that the family unit remains. I do believe that in my personal view, the most important and respectful thing a woman can do is become a mother. I think that having children is a beautiful thing. But obviously, if a woman wants to work and wants to have a career, especially now with paternity leave or maternity leave, and she can manage to do both, why wouldn't I want women to work? I don't know why anyone would ever assume I don't want women to work or think women can't work, because I said that I should keep them safe sometimes.
Good.
No, but it's interesting because you have to look at this, Piers. It's interesting how people extrapolate. Andrew said that he's responsible for a woman's safety, and he said that gives him authority to make decisions for her safety, and that's been misconstrued, and he's a bad person. But now we believe that Andrew doesn't believe in
logiškai žmonės išvarto belenkaip, o čia vat ką pasakė, Piersas Morganas net neturėjo nieko ką prisikabinti, jis visiškai pritarė šitam argumentui, ką Andrew Tate išdėstė. Čia sunku būtų surasti žmogų, kuris nepritartų.
I don't know where all of that comes from.
Well, that's why I'm glad we've had a chance to discuss
Completely. I believe women are sovereign individuals and they can make any choice they so desire. I think that it's important that we remember that a man has a duty. I think I certainly in my relationship have a financial responsibility to provide for my woman. My woman would never have to work unless she wanted to, because I'm the kind of person who works hard enough that she wouldn't have to.
Should young men, though, all aspire to be like you?
Should young men aspire to work very hard, have no criminal record, become multimillionaires, protect and provide for the women close to them, be sovereign so they can stand up and have their own points of view in face of cancellation, be able to not be mentally intimidated when they go on national TV and there's traps set up for them. Yeah, I believe that confident, strong men who stand up and protect and provide for women are a good thing for the world and a good force for the world. And I don't think that I put a magic spell on anybody. I think there's a whole bunch of men in the world who understands my value. And if men...
Čia yra ta žinutės dalis, kur teisinga, kur sakiau, kad visos konspiracijos teorijos, visos ideologijos, jos turi gerą žinutę. Ir va čia yra ta žinutė gera, kur Andrew Tate pasakė. Jo, čia yra ta self-help, labai švari gera žinutė. Jo, su šito nieks nesiginčys, bet vat, tie visi kiti dalykai, kur, Piersas Morganas čia nedresavo to beveik kai kurių dalykų, bet papildomi dalykai yra problema, bet
men grow up to be like
net tokie, kad užbanint.
We're going to have a whole bunch of people with no criminal record, dedicated athletes, who protect and provide for the people close to them, are fantastic for the economy, and I'm certainly not the worst influence out here, Piers. You have Lil Nas twerking on the devil on music videos, which our children are digesting. You have drill artists singing about stabbing people to death in the middle of a knife crime epidemic. You have rabid psychopaths on whether the right or the left announcing violence on the other side. You have all these insanities in the world. And because I sit here and say, perhaps. Now you've laid it out and it offended you, I understand.
I didn't say it offended me.
Okay, cool.
I just read you the things.
You read things that you said they could be offensive and some people are offended.
Well, some people definitely were offended.
Absolutely. That's fine.
And honestly, I think some of the things you said were genuinely offensive and misogynist.
Okay, so they offended you. Like I said earlier, so they offended you, which is fine. I said they offended you, you interrupted me, and now you're saying they offended you, which is fine. But the point I'm trying to make is this. I'm not the devil.
Oh my goodness. O, dievai. O, aš nežinau. Aš atsuksiu biškai gal. Čia taip Piersas susivartė pats save.
You read things that you said laid out and it offended you. And because I said...
I didn't say it offended me.
Okay, cool.
Pasakė, it offended you. I didn't say it offended me. Pirmas impulsas. Aš nesakiau taip.
I just read you the things.
You read things that you said they could be offensive and some people are offended.
Well, some people definitely were offended.
Absolutely. That's fine.
And honestly, I think some of the things you said were genuinely offensive.
Tai you were offended. Tai kodėl sakai, kad nesi offended? Kad... Oh my god. Taip, per... Net 10 sekundžių praėjo. Tai kam tada paprieštaravai? Vien tam, kad pertraukti ir paskui ne manęs neofendino. Tave ofendino, nes tu pasakai, kad tai yra offensive dalykas. No, Jesus.
If a misogynist.
Okay, so they offended you. Like I said earlier, so they offended you, which is fine. I said they offended you, you interrupted me, and now you're saying they offended you, which is fine. But the point I'm trying to make is this. I'm not the devil. There are certainly worse people than me, and,
I don't disagree
and they exist.
With that.
And I'm saying that my core tenets for the people who don't understand me are self-accountability, so I'm accountable for everything I've ever said. My core tenets are responsibility, so I'm responsible for everything I've said. My core tenets are traditional masculinity to a degree, which involves protecting and providing for women. And I'll make another point here that needs to be said. The number of women who have stood up and stuck up for me is ignored. Thousands of women are making videos saying, I've met Andrew Tate, he's such a nice guy. I wish I had a man like Andrew Tate who felt responsible to protect and provide for me. You know what? I do belong to my husband, that's why I married him and I love him. We ignore the thousands of women who stood up and stood by me and said everything I said is true.
Čia irgi teisybė. Reikia paminėti tą, kad netgi Lietuvoje prie Tinderį paskrolinant, gal vyresnį Tinderį, ne 18 metų, labai daug aprašymuose parašyta, ieškau tikro vyro, arba ar dar kas nors žino, kas yra tikras vyras. Žinai, tie pasakymai, kur, tos tradicinės moteris galbūt, su tradiciniam pažiūrom, kurios vat ir nori, kad jas ir išlaikytų, ir jam rūpintus, ir kad būtų tas autoritetas, tipo. Tai, bet kažkaip pasaulis nešneka ir, tipo, pamiršta gal toj ideologijai, kad labai daug žmonių yra, kurie nori tokių santykių ir tai yra jiems normalu ir didžiai daugumai turbūt tai būtų normalu ir viskas gerai. Aišku, čia vien tik apie tą dinamiką vyrų ir moters čia kalbėjau, ne apie visus Andrew Tate posakius.
And we're taking a very vocal minority who have taken things I've said and are pretending to be absolutely and utterly devastated.
Man 36, aš kalbu, ne 18 metų, nes 18 metų aš net nevizuoju, kas ten bus. Spalvotais plaukais feministas naujos kartos ieškos vaikinų, aš neįsivaizduoju, I have no idea. Man 36, aš neskrolinu 18 metais.
Okay, all right. Time out.
Sure.
You've had a good run there.
Sure.
An inquest this week found that a 14-year-old girl, Molly Russell, died from an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. The coroner said she was exposed to material that may have influenced her in a negative way, and in addition, what started as depression had become a much more serious depressive illness, and she very sadly took her life.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Right. Her father...
It's terrible.
Her father...
What? Kodėl jis pasakoja tą istoriją?
Influenced her in a negative way.
Wait a second.
From an act of...
Sure. By them for some reason.
All right. Time out.
Sure.
Time out.
A good run there.
Sure.
An inquest this week found that a 14-year-old girl...
Time out ir papasakosiu istoriją.
Molly Russell died from an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. The coroner said she was exposed to material that may have influenced her in a negative way, and in addition, what started as depression had become a much more serious depressive illness, and she very sadly took her life.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Right. Her father...
It's terrible.
Her father's campaign for better protections against potentially dangerous social media algorithms, right? It says that the particularly graphic content she saw romanticized acts of self-harm, normalized her condition, and focused on a limited and irrational view without any counterbalance of normality. First of all, what is your response to that? Nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
Ask you what your response
that's the
is.
first thing. Yeah, it is nothing to do with me. The fact that a 14-year-old girl took her life is truly sad.
This is so fucking weird. Pasikvietė žmogų, pašnekė specifinę temą apie jo baną, apie, jo pasakymus ir tada random tokį istoriją papasakoja, ką manai apie tai maždaug. Why the fuck are you doing that?
Sad. The world we live in today is...
Ar aš kažko nesupratau, čia žiauriai
The
weird.
fact that something like that happened is almost mind-blowing to me. That's truly...
Nu,
that's truly
neapkaltinu
sad.
nieko,
I
netgi
actually
pasakė,
feel
tu
sad.
nieko nesusijęs. Tai kokia prasmė buvo šnekėti iš viso apie tai? Tiesiog, davai išrenk kažkokią naujieną. Gal čia jau dialogas baigėsi, tipo, naujieną kažkokią aptariam? Aš labai weird. Junglyties skirtumas čia blemba vyras stipresnį fiziškai ir dažniausiai fiziškai apgins savo moterį patės dirbti fizinius darbus. Ten labiau iš, ir iš fizinės, jo, bet labiau iš tos ir emocinės, kad tipo, tie vyrai emocinė siena ir tenais parama emocinė ir stabilumas, iš tos labiau pusės. Bet, jo, iš visų pusių, aišku. Bet jos labiau kalba iš tos pusės. Tikrai ne apie tai, kad tu galėsi maišus parnešti sunkesnis.
Inside to see something like that. This fact that they just said it's romanticizing the gory element. I don't know what she was watching, some kind of suicide videos thing. I don't know where these things are
Do you
created.
think the tech companies should be much tougher about stuff like this?
I don't know what...
Supratau. Man atrodo, supratau. Kadangi šnekam temą apie Andrew Tate baną, tai Piersas Morganas iš toliau mėgino galbūt privesti, kad žiūrėk tokia situacija buvo ir jinai konsumino online contentą. Tai ar manai, kad tech organizacijos, Facebook ir panašiai turėtų daug griežčiau kontroliuoti dalyką online, kažkokį contentą, kuris galbūt gali įtakoti žmonės? Jeigu Andrew Tate pasakys dabar, kad ar pasakytų, kad taip, turi griežčiau kontroliuoti, tai tada galbūt jisai ir pritarė jo banui, nes taigi kompanijos turi kažkur brėžti ribas, kas gali pakenkti žmogui. Man atrodo, that was the point.
What kind of things she watched, obviously. I have to be a professional here. I think that the tech companies need to do their best to protect people, I guess, to a degree, but it's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Yeah,
Then they
kur tą
use
liniją
the
brėšim,
slippery slope to silence some people and to
Right, and
Gerai
I
atsakė.
think it's a really fine
Okay, aš
line.
supratau,
It's
kodėl
a
jis tą
complicated
pasakė.
line.
It is very...
I was interested when you did an interview with the Times.
Okay,
Hugo
it's all
Ripley,
fine.
very good
Ne,
job.
pradžioj, kai jis tą temą, tą istoriją pradėjo pasakoti, visiškai clueless, bet jo, supratau, that was the point. Jesus Christ. Okay, all good, Piersai.
We did a big interview with him, and it was interesting to me, his conclusion.
Wild.
Because he kind of concluded that although he found a lot of the things he said awful and offensive, and he didn't like them, and he didn't want to be that kind of person that would say those kind of things, nor could he actually work out exactly what you'd done, which deserved mass wipeout by all the tech firms. I thought it was an interesting conclusion. I don't know the answer to that, other than the reason I mentioned the Molly Russell case, not because that has anything to do with you at all, and I reiterate that.
Thank you.
So I simply ask you this. What has come clear to me in the interview is that a lot of things you say you wouldn't say now that you've said before.
But I'd say them differently, perhaps.
Yeah, right. So to me, that's an acceptance, not just that you want to get back on platforms, because maybe that was one of the reasons you were no platform, but that you've recognized and understood the potential harm to the wrong kind of impressionable mind.
Ne. Suprato ne potential harm, o kad žmonės yra retardai ir gali nesuprasti viską arba karpyti ir, tie pavyzdžiai gali paskui užbanint. Ne kad harm, o kad tie be kontekstų iškirpti klipai, kur aš daviau pavyzdį ten paskui su tais 3 melais, kad gali paskui jų užbanint. Dėl to jis vardintų kitaip, o ne dėl to, kad kažkam gali harm sukelt.
By some of the things you've said. Would that be fair?
I think that's 80% fair. I recognize and understand that with massive fame, you have to be more careful about being misconstrued. Like I said earlier, 1% of people misunderstand you. It doesn't matter with a small audience. It matters with a very large audience. With power comes responsibility. I still believe the things I say. I do not want to be a negative force for the world. I also understand that I am a man who's lived a very difficult, nuanced life, and I am capable of making nuanced points that may be misunderstood by teenagers. However, that can be said about anybody and everything. Every opinion online can be misunderstood by children. Trying to protect children from the internet is a very interesting subject in and of itself, because I would argue that 80% of the content on the internet can be negative or detrimental to a young mind that doesn't understand the world.
Jo. Ir vat, čia yra turbūt esminis dalykas. Kaip apginti tos? Tu niekada neapginsi tiesiog blokuodamas žmogų, kurio žinutę jau išgirdo tas vaikas. Tu turi paaiškinti ir kalbėti ir duoti kitą point of view. That's the only way. Jeigu tu užblokavai žmogų, kuris jau pasakė tą žinutę ir vaikas jau išgirdo, tu nieko neapginiai. Tu gal tada gali gintis, kad apginsi tą sekantį, kad neišgirstų, bet ta žinutė vis tiek pasiliko tų žmonių mintyse. Tai, tu nieko neišsprendė.
I'd argue that all of it. We just talked about music videos and dancing on the devil and all this stuff. All this stuff is dangerous.
By the way, I think you make a very good point on that. So, a lot of these rap stars, the lyrics, the videos, I think far exceed anything that you've been accused of doing.
Completely.
Because in a lot of cases, some of them promote non-consensual activity with people, right? And
Man tai labai patinka pažiūrėti TikTok'e, kaip kokia blondinė šikna krato. Jokio konteksto tam nereikia.
I just think that crosses a line you have, as far as I've seen, you haven't crossed that line.
No, I haven't. And this is the thing. And I've been vilified, not because of the things I say, because much more extremist content already exists on the internet. I think the reason I've been attacked and vilified is because of the popularity, because I became so massively famous, not because of what I was actually saying. So as a professional, I analyze that and I understand that, okay, I'm massively famous now and certain things have been taken out of context. However, I still do believe I'm a force for good in the world. And I'm not going to sit here
and say... Have you changed, though?
It's not about changing.
Well, it is. We're all involved in an evolution. How old are you now?
I'm 36.
36, right? I bet you're a different person to what you were when you were 26.
Oh, that's absolutely,
16,
that's
right?
absolutely a fact.
So we all change. And Mike, you keep talking about being a good person.
Yeah.
I think if you're honest with yourself, that you can see why people found a lot of the stuff you've said problematic and misogynist. And I think you've recognized you wouldn't express yourself in that way again because you've understood that it's caused a lot of harm. And that's really...
Ne, vėl, blet, jau beveik padaryti teisingą išvadą. Ne dėl to, kad cause a lot of harm, o dėl to, ką pirmai pasakei, kad žmonės net taip supras ir karpys be konteksto. Ne dėl to, blet, ką ten.
If you're honest with yourself...
Jo, viskas true ir išvada bloga. Jo, mes galim matyti, kodėl daug žmonių rado, ką tu sakei, suprato, ką tu sakei problematiškai and misogynistic. Jo, daug žmonių gali be konteksto iškirpti ir nesupras, ką sako.
And I think you recognized you wouldn't express yourself in that way again.
Dėl to, kad žmonės nesuprasti gali tave arba be konteksto karpyti klipus ir panašiai, o ne dėl to, kad žala.
And that's really what I wanted to get to today, was an acknowledgement by you that these things clearly were said in the wrong way, created the wrong impression if you didn't mean them the way you intended them, and can therefore have a malevolent influence when you have a huge following.
Yeah, when you have a huge following, you certainly have to be a lot more careful about how you get certain points across. That's absolutely a fact.
Andrew, I appreciate you coming all the way from Romania.
Thank you.
It's been an interesting conversation, and I thank you for having it.
Cheers, Frank.
Well, that's it from me. Whatever you're up to, keep it up.
Okay. Kaip bebūtų, tai nebuvo labai blogas pokalbis. Neblogiausias, kokį mačiau. Bet problema ta, kad labai sunku jiems buvo susišnekėti. Atrodo, nežinau. Neblogiausias pokalbis, bet ir nieko ypatingai vertingo. Nes ne vieno pozicija labai... Jo, tikrai nebuvo geras. Net sakyčiau, labiau blogas negu geras. Bet nebuvo pats blogiausias, kokį mačiau. Tipo, entertaining. Gal ir apkalbėjau temą, kaip apsisaugoti nuo tokių trūkimų iš konteksto. Nelabai tu gali apsisaugoti. Jo. Nelabai tu gali apsisaugoti nuo tokio dalyko. Pavyzdžiui, aš šiandieną dariau tą klipą. Ir aš puikiai suprantu, ne klipą dariau, kur Karalius padarė tą klipą. Aš puikiai suprantu, kad tą klipą vėl gali padėti, ten kaip ir dėl tų sarkastiško klipo ar kažką. Puikiai supranti, kad tą gali išimti be konteksto. Ir gali techniškai tave užbaninti. Tai būtų absurdas. Bet jeigu tu tiesiog... Ką reikia kovoti ir kaip aš savotiškai kovoju, aš apie tai kalbu. Man atrodo, kai yra bloga kažkokia idėja ir nesupratimas, tipo reikia atsakyti į tai ir paaiškinti, kodėl tai yra nesąmonė. Ir tikėtis, kad žmonės nebus tokie brain dead ir actually supras dalykus. Var Andrew Tate atveju reikia actually vengti hiperbolizuoti žiauriai daug, bet jis tą darė labiau, kai net nesuprato, kad jį gali užbaninti už tai. Dabar jis, kaip matėm, šitam pokalbis daug atsargiau kalba. Ar realiai yra daug, ką gali iškirpti iš to video, taip hiperbolizuoti, kaip kad prieš tai, kad iškarpė? Kas žin? Gali gal vienas tam tikras situacijas ten, bet tipo, daug sunkiau būtų. Nėra tokių, kur ten klipų, wild klipų yra iš anksčiau, kur galima be konteksto iškirpti. Bet jo, dabar jis daug atsargiau kalba, bet jis net nežinojo, kad jį gali užbaninti už tai. Tai tipo, aš nežinau, ar įmanoma apsisaugot. Reikia tiesiog visuomenę mokyti labiau ir aš tą darau tipo kalbėdamas, bent jau kiek aš galiu, kad taip gyventi negalima ir parodyti kodėl, paaiškinti kodėl, prie ko tai priveda, kad tos idėjos niekur nedingsta, net jeigu tu nepritari, pirmą reikia kalbėti, o ne baninti žmogų, paaiškinti konteksto svarbą, kad ir 5 kartus, kad ir 10 kartų, kad ir 20 kartų. Ir, turbūt tai techniškai tavęs neapsaugos, bet, galbūt visuomenė pakryps tą pusę, kur net, tada nereikės nuo nieko saugotis, nes žmonės suprasta. Čia gausis ilgas YouTube'ės video, bet aš jį actually dėsiu visą nuo pradžios iki galo. Bus labai jau, kiek čia 3 valandos kažkur gausis, ilgo formato, bet jo, 15 minučių video, aš jį jau buvau pasiruošęs, kad aš jį pauzinsiu ir daug šnekėsiu, tai all fine, kažkam bus įdomu, galbūt kažkam ne. Jo, ir reikia ir mokyti žmonės, kritinio mąstymo kažkokio, kad jeigu tu žiūrėsi reelsus žmogaus 20 sekundžių, tu gal gali šiek tiek susidaryti nuomonę, bet, tu nesusidaryk tos jau visokiojopos nuomonės, nepasmerk jo, nes tu techniškai nežinai nieko, nežinai konteksto, kodėl jis tos klipus daro, gal jis taip tiesiog uždirbai, nekomunėti, ką sako. Kritinio mąstymo išmokti, edukuot biškai žmogus. Kai tėvai auklėja savo vaikus, kad auklėti, kaip už ką reikia iš tikro vertinti žmogus, už kaip nuspręsti apie žmogų, kaip elgtis. Čia jau auklėjimas ir tėvų prisirašo kažkiek. Jeigu tėvai auklė, žiūrėk, tas pasakė tą, viskas, jis yra Hitleris, nebendrauk niekad su juo, jie taip ir elgsis. Jeigu tu galbūt pamokysi žmogų, kai kuriem gal to net nereiks mokyti, bet jeigu tu pamokysi žmogų, kad reikia, kad reikia gal išklausyti, gal pakalbėti ir viskas gerai nesutart su žmogum ir viskas gerai galbūt, jeigu jis tam pagarbiai elgės ir su jo pagarbiai elgtis, nesvarbu, kad nepritari. Jeigu mes taip auklėsim savo vaikus ir panašiai, gal tipo ir tokios problemos nebus ateityje, tipo, I don't know. Kaip bebūtų, žinai, aš jokių problemų čia neišspręsiu, aš daug dievė porai žmonių pakeisiu galbūt mąstymo procesą šiek tiek į teisingesnę pusę, kur man atrodo teisingesnė pusė. Nei man ten rūpi pasaulį pakeis, man labiau patinka gal stebėti pasaulį ir savo padaryti. Gerai, viskas. I'm done.